Welcome in, middays. Hope you're having a great Thursday after draft night, Wednesday. We got a lot on the board for you. Here's Bill Colarulo joins us today. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. A little surprised about last night, but we'll talk about it.
There's a lot to talk about last night. Tom Alvord is producing for that guy that used to work here, red hair, had a beard. Ray Dunn, yeah. How you doing, Tom?
What's going on, boys? How
All
we doing?
good?
All good. No complaints, yeah.
All right, that's what I like to hear. And you're going to hear an awful lot today because we have some reaction. I'm sure you do, too. We can't wait to hear from you. We'll put some things out there for us all to talk about because I'm thinking to myself last night, all right, do I have to go on air? I don't want to not be myself because I am never that. And whether you like it or not, I can't help it. I am not a guy that comes on and says, I'm taking this side, whether I believe it or not. I just won't. I honestly said to myself last night, going back and forth after the draft was done, I want to learn more about this from our listeners because I do have an opinion of what I think is going on, and I certainly will share that, as will Bill, as will Tom. But I really am looking forward to what the people have to say because a lot of times, last night it gets done, we look at it, we listen to people, we read things, and we try to learn about whether we are right in our opinion or if we maybe miss something in our opinion. I have an opinion today that the morning show kind of slid in there real quickly, and we just talked about it on the crossover. This is the downside of what happened to me last night, and maybe it was to you. We'll get all into that, but we can't do it until we hit this.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Jared McCain. That was the pick last night for the 76ers at number 16, Duke guard. You know all about him now. On the smaller side, like 6'2", can shoot. Athleticism, I saw a lot of things that could be a question mark. There's nothing like long or big about it. You can have a 6'2" guy and say, oh, but he's long, a long 6'2". He's not. He's kind of compact, a little over 200 pounds. It's funny, there was a guard back in the day for the 76ers, and this is a long time ago when I was a little kid, that I just couldn't stand as a player, and his name was Henry Bibby. Jared McCain's jump shot looks just like Henry Bibby's to me, and I have to wipe it out of my mind because I don't want to start with any, not goodness when it comes to Jared McCain. But does this pick answer any questions for you, or does it create more? Because yesterday, that's what I said as we were on the show before the best show ever came on with Bill, with Tyrone. I said, well, tonight, meaning yesterday, some of the questions will start to be answered. Were they? Or did it raise more questions? We'll talk all about that. You have two legit players for next year. Let's, we can get corrected. I heard Tyrone say, well, that's not true. There is, who is it? Ricky Council the fourth and this and that. All right, if we're being honest, there's two legit players that are going to be on this team so far for next year, and that's Tyrese Maxey and that's Joel Embiid. Did you just draft a guy that you want to become one of those two guys? I mean, ideally, in Jared McCain, if he becomes a good pro, you would want him to be like a Tyrese Maxey. So that's kind of confusing to me there. Round 2, it starts today at 4 o'clock. Sixers are at 41, which would be the 11th pick of the day today. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sure there's going to be more moves over the weekend. We'll talk about it. Were you surprised that they just stood pat? Yep. Okay, we got 16. We're taking 16, and we're moving on. We have a lot of cuts from Daryl Morey that we will get to also to react. Your Philadelphia Phillies, well, they won their 16th series of the season last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, with a 6-2 win over the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Turnbull, I'm not really worried. He only went 3 innings, 1 earned run, and then had to leave because of shoulder tightness. The way he was talking after the game, it didn't have me all that concerned. Like, oh, my God, Taijuan Walker's out. Now Spencer Turnbull, what are you going to do with that 5th starter? Phillies do have a day off coming up Monday. If, something needs to happen or an extra day's rest or something, they probably could get by with the 4 on normal day's rest because of the off day. So we'll see how that all plays out. But yesterday, the bullpen, 6 pitchers. Soto, Ruiz, Strahm, Kerkering, Hoffman, Alvarado, though he wasn't all that great. But they combined for 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Bullpen has just been absolutely phenomenal. Brandon Marsh, of course, was the story of the day. 4 for 4, 4 RBI. Oh, my God, he got hits off of left-handers, too. Who thought he could do that? Please just plug and play. A little bit more, Rob Thompson. That's all I ask. Bryce Harper, he extended his hitting streak to 11 games. I have some numbers on him later, and another guy later that he might be vying for some awards or something like that, but amazing numbers that I'll give to you a little bit later on in the show. Phillies win the series 2-1. They outscored the Tigers 15-7. Okay, normal series. Here's what's not normal. In the 3 games, the Phillies struck out 35 times. 35 times. One game was 17 times. 10 again yesterday. I don't want to look for stuff. I don't. When things are going so well, I don't want to look for stuff. But you're always aiming for perfection. I'm starting to get a little, okay, let's not get into that bad habit again of having bad plate appearances. And it's just starting to show up a little bit more. Hopefully they tighten that up before it gets to be a real problem. Tonight, 6:20 start, because I think, Tom, they have fireworks tonight, right?
Yes, fireworks next 2 nights, I believe.
All right, 2 nights of fireworks, so our dogs can all go crazy for a little while. 6:20, Christopher Sanchez tonight. I'm sorry, not Christopher, Zach Wheeler tonight, 9-4, 2.73 ERA. He goes against left-hander Trevor Rogers. My God, another left-hander against the Phillies. It just seems to happen all the time. So we'll see what kind of lineup we get out there. I'm sorry. And somebody put it on Twitter. I would rather see Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott go 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts than watch Christopher Pache or Whit Merrifield. That's who I am. But we'll see how it all plays out. Hard to argue with what Rob Thompson has done. Trevor Rogers, he's 1-8 with a 4.90 ERA this year. He's kind of a hit and miss pitcher. 5 times this year, he's given up 4 or more runs. 8 times this year, he's given up 2 or less runs. So it's either hit or miss with Trevor Rogers. Series continues tomorrow against Miami at 6:20. Christopher Sanchez goes. Saturday at 4:05, it's Aaron Nola. And Sunday, 1:35, Ranger Suarez. Phillies are now 53-27. After the Braves split a doubleheader yesterday, the Phillies are still 8 games up. They'll have off on Monday, and then Tuesday, 6 straight on the road. 3 at Chicago, including something that takes me back to my childhood, an afternoon day game. I love it. A day game, and obviously have a midweek day game. I absolutely love that at Chicago. And then 3 at Atlanta. Your Philadelphia Flyers NHL draft is in Vegas starting tomorrow. We have a crack team out there. John Kincade and Haley are both going to be out there for the NHL draft. I saw something pretty funny on Twitter. I don't, for anybody. Leon Draisaitl, who's a really great offensive player for the Edmonton Oilers. There's a 14-1 chance. I think it was like 6th in the league. A 14-1 odds on the books that he might be coming to Philadelphia. So we'll see all about that. On the national front, when it came to the Sixers yesterday, you didn't get all that great news where you see OG Anunoby is going to stay with the Knicks, signing a huge contract there. Jimmy Butler says he wants to kill it this season and then get paid next year. Well, if I'm Miami and he's under contract with me and he wants to kill it this year, I might just say, okay, good, Jimmy, you do that for us and we're nice and happy. So I don't know if that's still on the board to get him. Paul George's chances seem to be dwindling. Do the Sixers do the thing that Andrew Salciunas has been calling for, and that's draft Bronny James today in order to try to lure his father? We shall see, but the moves that the Sixers have left to make, some are dwindling. The name Kevin Durant came up. Maybe some are opening. So we will see. That's your front page for today as we dive into some more of this. Okay, Bill. Jared McCain. Okay. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'll give you real quick. Dylan McKinnon asked us to have reaction last night. He does this little Instagram thing, which is cool. He said, send video of what you say. I know what he meant. He wanted us to send in our reaction to him about the draft. So I said, all right, you want video? I'm going to give you video. So I videoed myself when the Sixers made the pick. And I looked at my camera on the phone after they made it, and I went, okay. That's all. Is that your reaction, Bill, or do you have a bigger reaction to Jared McCain?
And it's nothing against Jared McCain. I hope the kid turns out to be a really good player. Had a good one-and-done season in Duke. Looks like he's a great shooter. It's just the blank canvas is still blank for me when you look at the 76ers. That's all we kept talking about is, look, Daryl Morey finally has that blank canvas to work with. Well, it's still blank. We don't know what the plan is. I'm not sure McCain's even going to be on this team in a couple of weeks. You just don't know. But if he is, and we're just looking at it purely as a player that's going to be on the Sixers, number one, I'm not expecting a one-and-done college player to come in here to a team that's supposed to be a competitor in the East, actually contributing in a big way. And then I'm concerned, as I'm sure a lot of people have heard, with his size. I went and looked at the last 5 years of NBA champions. None of them had 2 6'2" guards. So Tyrese Maxey, 6'2", Jared McCain is 6'2". You look at the last 5 NBA champions. The Boston Celtics, 6'4" and 6'4". The Denver Nuggets, 6'5" and 6'4" with Caldwell Pope and Jamal Murray. Golden State Warriors, okay, Steph Curry, 6'2", but he's also Steph Curry. And then he has Klay Thompson, who's 6'6".
Yeah.
Milwaukee Bucks, Drew Holiday, 6'4". You want to say Dante DiVincenzo was 6'4". L.A. Lakers had Caldwell Pope. LeBron James, if you consider him the point guard, 6'9". Even if not, Alex Caruso, 6'5". So this whole idea of Jared McCain and Maxey, even if McCain is, in fact, in their future plans, it doesn't make sense with Tyrese, and they still don't have a true point guard.
No, it was odd. You go over everything in your head, and it's, okay, well, do they just want 2 guys on the floor that can share the ball? Like, it doesn't matter who has it, and the other one's still a good shooter, and you can get out and run a little bit because you do have 2 guys. But it does come back to that, Bill. I don't know how you can get 2 questionable defenders, maybe 2 guys that can get better or have gotten a little better defenders, but they're still small. And as we've seen, it's become a lot of guard-heavy wing elite type league, especially like look at Boston. Then I started thinking, okay, is Daryl Morey trying to dip in? Copycat league is what you hear all the time in any sport that you cover. And we all hear it all the time from coaches and GMs when we talk to them. Everybody's copycat. You want to copycat what the good teams did to you. The last team the Sixers played was the New York Knicks. How did they beat them? By having perimeter players that were kind of undervalued. You know, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. These weren't guys that when they were drafted, it was like, oh, yes, you got the guy. The best of them right now, Jalen Brunson, was taken in the second round. It wasn't a life breaker when Dallas took him. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, that puts them over the top. No, it was a guy that they thought, okay, this might be a piece. See what happens. Is Daryl Morey thinking of that way in Jared McCain? Tom, your reaction to when it was McCain. So mine, for the YouTube people, you can see, I was like, And you know, it's kind of a shrug of the shoulder. That's how I'll describe it. And good morning to all our YouTube friends also. What was your reaction, Tom?
Yeah, so as all up until leading to the draft, my thought process was there's no way they make this pick. And then we get to pick like 11 or 12, and I'm like, wow, there's been, one trade this entire draft? I don't think that other teams are really interested in these draft picks right now. Like, I think you would see more veterans being traded for draft picks than we did early on in this draft. So around 11 and 12, I was like, they're actually going to make this pick, aren't they? And I know that Kinect's dude from Tennessee was someone that a lot of people wanted, a wing guy, maybe fits a little bit better. When they picked McCain, my initial thought was, scorer, hell of a scorer, great shooter, but 6'2", not really athletic, as you mentioned. How does it fit next to Maxey? So I like the player. I don't necessarily know how he fits here. My thought process with this whole thing is, a lot of people are saying that it's going to be Maxey and McCain, a backcourt of the future. How does that work? In a bad draft like this, maybe it's possible the Sixers just view this guy as a bench piece going forward for them. Maybe he's their 8th guy off the bench this year, and maybe they view him hopefully as their 6th man of the future if they keep him, and that's the big key here. So a little bit confused by the pick with the fit. I do like the scoring and the shooting ability that he brings, however.
But to Tom's point about him maybe being a 6th man of the future, and you talked about Jalen Brunson, Bob, I don't think the Sixers have time to wait for a player right now. You look at Jalen Brunson, he wasn't this guy his first couple years. I mean, He really only became this guy the last 2 seasons. I'm not waiting 4 years for Jared McCain to be able to contribute to the Sixers team. They need to be in win-now mentality. And I know we're going to play some clips of Daryl Morey, but when he says last night, we still consider ourselves close to being one of the best teams in the East, based off of what? To your point from yesterday, they still don't have a roster. How can you say you're as good as other teams in the East? We still don't know what this team even looks like. I'm going to be patient, Bob, but at the same time, don't try to sell me a bill of goods when you don't even know who your roster is right now.
Nor do we. We don't know what's in Daryl Morey's mind. We don't know what's going on with that. I will say this, okay. For this season, for the 2024-2025 season, the Sixers are going to have a rotation of 8 or 9 guys, okay? That's what the regular season is. It usually dips down to maybe 6 or 7 come playoff time. If you have the luxury of going 8 deep in the playoffs, great. But it usually dips down lower than that. But during a regular season, it's got to be 8 limited, 9 definitely, out of 10th for a specialist. You have to have that many guys. If Jared McCain, in their eyes, is one of those guys, like, look, he's going to be a backup that comes off the bench, it's a good shooter and all that stuff. Okay, not what you exactly wanted, but a luxury that Daryl Morey might say, look, I'm not getting anything with that 16th pick. It's not going to persuade people to give me a star if I add that with other things. So let me get a top 8, 9, 10 guy for this season. That, Bill, as you said, that you hope can grow into something even better. Into, my God, maybe a Tyrese Maxey, a Jalen Brunson, but that's years down the road, as you said. But for now, okay, 16th pick. I'm not really moving it anywhere. Nobody really wants it. I'll take a player that maybe can be in my top 9 this year, and we'll make the bigger moves down the road. This isn't one of them, but it's a piece. That's an optimistic way of looking at it.
Yeah, we've said this before. It takes 2 to tango when you're trying to make a trade.
Sure.
So if nobody was willing to offer you anything that you thought was of value for that 16th overall pick, and McCain was, in fact, your best player on the board, then I think you do take him, and regardless of fit. We talk about that a lot with the NFL draft as well. You don't always draft for fit. You take the best player available. So maybe Morey had to do what he had to do in this situation. It just still leaves us sitting here wondering, well, what's the plan? Because he did talk pretty confidently last night, Daryl Morey, about the fact that this is going to be a very good Sixers team this season. Well, what's the plan? We're still waiting in anticipation. I know free agency hasn't fully kicked off yet, but I'm starting to lose my patience just a little bit, Bob.
As most fans probably are. You wanted some answers last night, and in my belief, I think there's more questions now than answers. We bring up a name. Tom brought up the name. My son and I are going back and forth. I can't believe Connect is falling. He's falling. This is going to happen. A guy at 6'6", that's kind of like that, man, I don't want to say a wild card, but does things that you're like, offensively, like, whoa. Takes the ball to the basket and will throw down and dunk in traffic. And you'll, whoa. Hits a fadeaway jumper with, a second on the shot clock from 25 feet. Whoa. Pulls up from the hash mark. Whoa. 6'5", 6'6". Like, to me and my son, and there was another guy that was in on it, one of our listeners, like, we were all saying, I can't believe Connect fell. He was slated as high as 7. I didn't talk about him that much when we were going through players the Sixers could take, because I thought he was going to be gone long before then. If you look at the national people on Twitter while the thing was going on, like,
they couldn't believe
wow,
it. Yeah.
This is unbelievable. The Lakers were elated that he fell to them. This isn't a guy. Look, you had a good line there, Bill. You said, it looks like they took the best available. My ears kind of perked up. We'll only learn over the next few years who's better and all of that stuff. But, God, if you were looking for kind of more of a fit, is Jared McCain that much better of a basketball player than Connect that you said, nah, we'll go 6'1", 6'2" in the backcourt again as opposed to 6'5", 6'6"?
Well, that's where you have to trust Morey and the scouts. I mean, this is what their big board probably told them, is to go with Jared McCain because he's not a better fit. If all things are equal, if Connect and McCain are both the same player, you go with Connect, right? I mean,
yeah.
He's definitely the better fit. So they must have thought, to your question, they must have thought that McCain's upside is a lot higher, or and maybe this is wishful thinking, or they just know there's somebody else that they're going to make a trade with that really likes McCain.
Could be, and that's a great point, Bill. And maybe that still will play out. If it doesn't, then we're gonna all question. All right, McCain, is that a fit? If it does, okay, there's your answer. Then now you're getting some answers. But as I said earlier, and it is my mantra, I've said this all the time, I love to learn. I love to learn sports. I never think I know everything. I will never press upon. I'll give you my opinion, what I think it is, and I'll listen to yours. I want to listen to yours today. What do you think of this pick? What do you think Daryl Morey was thinking with this pick? You can go positive, you can go negative, but I want it thought out. I want it thought out of what you think this means for the Philadelphia 76ers, because in my estimation, and we talked about it before the show, I think more questions now even arise. And you had a ton of them yesterday. And I think we have even more now. I'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Jared McCain. What does it do for you? 610-632-0975. Give us a call. Love to talk to you. Or you can text us at that number. Let us know what your feelings are. We also have a lot more to get into. Phillies, of course. They have a 4-game series coming up with Miami. Flyers have draft pick tomorrow. We're going to have people out there doing, covering all that stuff. So that'll be good. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're having a great one. As I've said before, my favorite day of the week because it's right before the weekend. Love the anticipation. Hope you're anticipating a great, great weekend. We got everybody going all over the place here. Lithuania, Las Vegas. Bill Burns just got back from Italy. Of course, Bill Colarulo here just got back from his honeymoon. I am so lucky that I get to go down the shore for a couple hours on Saturday, and that's it. Yeah, so I don't get the highfalutin vacations that you guys get, but I'm happy nonetheless. Are you happy with what the Sixers did last night? Jared McCain, Duke guard, taking it number 16, I don't know how you guys felt. Were you sitting back on, okay, what's going on? Oh, there's a trade. Now, we're not surprised anymore, right? It's almost funny. You watch ESPN coverage because of Twitter now. They're not surprised. They'll talk for the first, after a pick is made, they talk to the guy that was picked. Then they go to the next team. Okay, let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. They might be looking here at somebody, and then all of a sudden they'll see the Shams or Woj tweet with about a minute to go before the actual pick is made, and they'll see who they're going to pick, and then they'll change it. Well, they could be looking at Jared McCain because he's a guy, so we're not surprised by anything. But were you guys surprised that it was Sixers have 16th pick? Sixers took 16th pick. See you tomorrow.
100%. And I don't think that I'm the only one who was surprised because we've been talking about this now for a couple of weeks leading up to the draft. And a lot of people who follow this team and cover this team also thought very unlikely Sixers make this pick. But if they did, it was probably a player that they're going to trade. So we'll still see. I mean, we're not even 12 hours removed, I guess, from the draft pick last night. I'd still be surprised if McCain's on the roster. Andrew Salciunas just stepped in. We talked to him, too. He'd be surprised. There's so many things that this team needs to do to try to win now. And taking a guard who's undersized that may grow into something a couple years from now, to me, doesn't signal we're in a win now approach.
It's interesting. We're going to have Nick Stauskas, former Sixer, former NBA player, obviously, on the show at 1 o'clock today. I wanted to talk to Nick a lot because Nick is and I found this out about him when I was covering the Sixers and he was on the team and we kind of built a relationship. He's very cerebral about the fit of the NBA and why a team might do this and that. He played the position that the Sixers are looking for, and that's a shooting guard. And I'm interested to talk to him, see what he thinks about this pick, about the fit, about what it may be. But as it went along last night, Tom, did you find yourself going, nah, this isn't going to be just a pick and be done, is it?
Yeah, I was thinking it the entire time. And then as soon as pick 11, 12 came and there was one trade made in the entirety of that draft to that point, my thought process was, I just don't think anybody values any of these picks in this draft because it's such a weak draft. So I was surprised towards the end. Even I tweeted right away, about this pick, what I thought of it. And at the end of my tweet, I was kind of like, we'll see if he's still here at the end of the night. So I was still holding out that, not hope, but holding out that thought process of, hey, maybe they do make a deal at some point. As excited as I was for yesterday's draft to come away with just a guy at 16 and that's it, a little bit disappointed, I'll be honest, because I was expecting so much more, such a bigger move made, and it just didn't happen.
Bob, so is it just me, or is the NBA draft nowhere near as exciting as it used to be?
Well, it's funny. I brought that up yesterday a little bit, saying, what's your excitement level? Because back in the day, it was through the roof, right?
I remember loving the NBA draft and seeing the players that were going off the board, and you thought that a lot of the players, even in the top 15, were going to make huge impacts on teams, and now you're like, okay, almost every pick to me is, it's a developmental piece.
I look at it differently. In the past, I looked at it like, oh, cool, I know this guy fitting here. How will that go? That's pretty cool. Now it's a learning process for me where they introduce all the players from France and from overseas and the G League and guys that you don't, know all that much about. And I try to absorb it. Okay, what's this guy like? What's he? And then, now you can process moving forward. But it's just different, right? It's a lot different.
Yeah, nowhere near as exciting as it used to be. And I'm not trying to live in a prior generation and being the get off my lawn type of guy, but it was more fun back in the day. It was a lot more fun.
Familiarity is makes it more interesting, right?
100%.
Yeah, and a lot of it isn't that anymore. Luke in Westchester wants to talk about the Sixers pick. Luke, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually ecstatic about this pick.
Ecstatic.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect fit because he brings all the energy like Maxey does, and Maxey's just so energetic. I think with two of them, it's just so good.
So how do you see him fitting in on the court? I mean, you could talk about energy and all. Can you have two 6'1", 6'2" guards on the floor at the same time? Did you draft somebody that's looking to become the next Tyrese Maxey? Therefore, you're having two of the kind of same player? Like, where do you see him fitting in on whatever roster the Sixers are going to throw out there this year?
I'll be honest, I think there's going to be a lot of more turnover points now because they both can pass, Maxey and McCain. And I think once the turnover happens, they're just so fast they can go down the floor and, just pass it to each other and make the bucket.
All right, Luke, appreciate the call. Ecstatic.
Yeah, I appreciate the optimism and positivity, but I think your expectations may be a little bit too high for the 16th overall pick who was one and done in college, who's undersized. Does bring a lot of energy, but to Bob's point, you need more than energy in the NBA.
Yeah, it's ecstatic is probably. I'm not going to say it's the polar opposite. I would have to be disappointed. Mine was a shrug of the shoulders, a frown. Okay. That's what my reaction was. I'm glad what Sean just said, though. He gave us a word. And I had this in my notes last night. I didn't put it finally, as a talking point, but I'm going to do it now. As you call and give us your thoughts on Jared McCain, the Sixers taking him at 610-632-0975. Give us your one word to describe it. But I don't just want one word from you, but let us know how you feel about it and give us your one word that you would use to describe what this pick means to you as far as the 76ers go. Because there's two ways to look at how you're going to pick somebody. And we talked about it yesterday. And Bill, I know you and Tyrone talked, and a great show by you guys yesterday. Really had, I thought, really interesting show. When you look at someone at 16 and the position the Sixers are in, I don't think you have the luxury of saying, I'm either going to go for fit or I'm going to go for best player available. You just have to go. Then that might lean towards best player available. But, if the best player available was a center, I don't think you're going to go there. But you know what I mean? This is so wide open that you can't afford to go either or. You just have to go. Did they go in the right spot? That's the question.
So you just threw out, if the best player available was a center, you probably wouldn't go there. I may have actually liked that better because you do need a backup center, and it's not a player that you're going to be asking to do a lot of contributing in year one. But I get your point. But to me, hopefully, and this is me hoping, I am hopeful that Daryl Morey spoke to a lot of other GMs in the NBA, knows that Jared McCain is a piece that maybe another GM really likes, that they're going to package in some sort of trade to bring in a player that can contribute right away. Because we can go on and on about Joel Embiid. Tyrone had a good point a couple days ago that maybe he hasn't hit his prime yet. Either way, I think you have, best case scenario, 3 or 4 more years of Joel Embiid playing at an extremely high level. So I think you need to bring in pieces now. It has to be win now. And not only for that, this is me being greedy as a fan, talking for the fans here. How much more patience do you want us to have? Really, we need to win now. We can't keep being told, we're going to kick the can down the road. Look at all these assets we've acquired. Look at all this cap space we acquired. We've lived through the process. We've lived through, some of us, 41 years without winning a championship. They got to do something to win now, Bob.
Yeah, and it's funny because Amy said something on the show yesterday. I read a sarcastic tweet that we got concerning the Knicks landing Mikal Bridges, and it was like, yeah, they just got the next Michael Jordan. Yeah, the sky is falling, all that. I just read it like that was funny. Amy said, no, you got to be patient. And people jumped on her about being patient. Amy's patience was meaning right now. Right now in that the draft didn't start yet.
Free agency hasn't happened. Yeah.
Right. Overall patience, I totally agree with you, Bill. We've lost it.
Yeah, and the problem is, and I think what's causing fans, rightfully so, to lose their patience even right now is all the players that were being discussed are falling off the board. OG's re-signed in New York. It doesn't look like Paul George necessarily wants to leave or come here. Now Jimmy Butler may be staying in Miami. It's what is Daryl Morey going to do? But he did sound confident last night. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because I do think this is the first time we've seen Daryl Morey really able to put his fingerprint on this team. But you got to do something, man. And it can't be just Jared McCain.
No, and there was a big name getting thrown out yesterday. Maybe some stuff going on out there in Phoenix, and is Kevin Durant somebody that may be available? Again, another older player, a guy with a lot of tread on the tires, but, I mean, it's Kevin Durant. Maybe that's something that's in Daryl Morey's back pocket, and you're building around a threesome of Durant, Maxey, and Joel Embiid. And then it's like, how much better does that Jared McCain pick become? Oh, sure, you got the big three. You fill in the roster. Oubre, I don't know, maybe a DeAnthony Melton. Talk about Nico Batum and Kyle Lowry. And then you have McCain coming off the bench also. So that's where the patience kind of has to come. So there's still so much to play out. I understand the patience that you have to have right now in these next few days. I also understand that you've lost patience overall with everything that has gone on so far. Let's go to Jamal in Philly. Jamal, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling.
I look at McCain pick as a couple different things what it could be. It could be for a six-man to come off the bench and get you scoring. It could be a player of value that you could use in a trade later. And also, you got to realize Embiid not going to be here forever, so eventually they're going to have to, rebuild. I'm not necessarily sure that they draft him for now. He's not a win-now player, and you know we in win-now mode. So they could be using him for a variety of different things, the best available situation for him, which are things I named previously.
So do you have to mix in, Jamal, the win-now mode with, but you also have to, you can't disregard the future?
Right.
Or do
so
you?
I'm not just right. So what I'm saying is I'm not disregarding anything. What I'm saying is you got to see basically you got to have something that other players want. Remember, Bridges just went for 6 first-round picks. So now we have a first-round pick that may have an entrance in another team that need a guard, or maybe one small guard in their backcourt. So we have to have something that other teams want. It's not no guarantee we're going to keep this pick. He probably drafted somebody that he figured who would they want most. You get what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
So we can include that now in the trade. He don't care about these young players. He care about a big name and filling out this roster for a championship because that's the goal.
And maybe both of those are the same thing. If he doesn't get rid of McCain, maybe he has a plan. Oh yeah, I do need some guys on the roster. He's a guy in my top 9 and an eye towards, I don't know, Kevin Durant. Something like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, Jamal, let me get one word from you. One word to describe how you felt about last night's draft for the 76ers.
Oh, man. Listen, I was driving in the car on my way back from church with my wife, and I heard him say trade. And I'm like, all right, cool, this is the move. And then I was like, all right, he said for later. And I'm thinking, all right, they drafted him. I'm going to trade later because I could barely hear. But then when I found out they got him, I was a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lie with the size. But then I started thinking, why would he draft a small guard? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
To make it make sense, it got to be for a trade package later. But I was disappointed. I did want a bigger wing that could play defense and come in.
So is that your word, disappointed?
Yeah, I'll give you disappointed.
Okay. All right, Jamal, appreciate it. Appreciate the call. We're up against it here. Got a lot of calls coming in here about this. What's your one word? How do you feel about what happened last night? And what's your one word used to describe it? So far, we have ecstatic and disappointed. Could we go any further on the scale than those two words? And yes, MBDBDF, I said he has a lot of tread. He has a lot of wear on the tires, Kevin Durant. But it's a name that keeps popping up. So there's like light at the end of the tunnel or prospects, however you want to word it. We'll do all of that and more here. This is Middays. Bill Colarulo's with us all day long. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. 10 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. All right, a lot of Sixers talk as we begin today. We're looking for your word. What's your reaction for them taking Jared McCain last night, a guard out of Duke, a smaller guard, really good shooter? I'm sorry, don't they already have one of them? I'm sorry, if the two players that you're probably going to get a lot of playing time out of, the only two players, doesn't that kind of describe somebody they already have? So we had the word ecstatic from a young caller earlier today. We had the word disappointment given to us. So there's a lot of words in between that you may use to describe what you feel about Jared McCain. But last night, after they did make that choice, Daryl Morey spoke to the media, and he... You know, you're going to always give the good stuff, all the good juice about, this is what we wanted. But on number 5, Tom, he talked about pairing of the two guys. He has Tyrese Maxey, and you got another guy that, in my eyes, if this guy grows to be a really good basketball player in the NBA, he's going to try to be just like Tyrese Maxey. But Daryl Morey talked about maybe the pairing of them.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. Obviously, your backcourt, in a perfect world, you'd have taller, but I think you have to compensate that with strength. He's got like a strong frame, very strong, good rebounder. We think he'll be a solid defender in the league over time. He started off at Duke. He was being targeted at Duke, and as the season went on, he became someone that was actually one of their better defenders. So, we've had some good luck with taking the kids with a real base of potential and a strong work ethic.
So, in Daryl Morey, you have a GM, since he's been here, that likes familiarity, right, Bill? He goes and gets a James Harden who he's had before. He goes and gets a bunch of players that when you look back, they were together in Houston, and they were together here and there, and they have a connection in there. So now he talks about a guard in Jared McCain, and it sounds like somebody that they already have. Do you think it's that familiarity thing again in that, this guy could be like Tyrese Maxey. We hit on Tyrese Maxey. Let's try that again. Is that a fear maybe of viewers or anybody's, you think?
Yeah, it's certainly possible because Morey, we do give him a lot of grief at times, but you got to give him a lot of credit for taking Maxey 21st overall a few years ago. Look what he's turned into. It's just that to hear Morey talking about McCain in that same way and saying over time, those words bother me because we don't have time. Joel Embiid doesn't have time. 4 years, maybe, of Joel Embiid's prime, if you consider him still in his prime, which I do. So I don't care if Jared McCain over time can become the next Tyrese Maxey. We need somebody now. And you talk about that size. We talked about it earlier in the show. You look at the NBA champions over the last 5 years, none of them had 2 6'2" guards. I can't tell you the last time there was that 2 small guards like that.
Now, it's interesting because there are more moves that are going to be had. There has to be. So far you have, only a few guys on this roster, 2 that can definitely go out there and be really good in this league, and then a couple other that you sprinkle in. But maybe as other moves are made, this pick gets better, or maybe it doesn't. But Daryl Morey was asked about McCain and if he's here for this year, what it may look like.
I think so. I think it's a big bar. I think it's tough. Obviously, we're planning to be, the best team in the East next year and be right there with Boston and the other competitors. So it's a high bar. I think most likely it's someone who's, generally when you're in the 10 to 20 range, it's someone who's not starting in the year at the rotation, but you hope, by the end of the year, if they're contributing, then you're in a really good spot as they show their work ethic. And, he's been like a top 10 to 15 guy in the country in his class the whole way across. And so he's a combination of a guy who we think you could get out a little quicker and at the same time a lot of upside given he's very young and has a great work ethic.
Kind of general there, right? I mean, plus he takes a guy, Daryl Morey, talk about familiarity. He just lost to the New York Knicks. All right, the New York Knicks are filled, as we know, with Villanova guys. Great basketball school. Jay Wright built a phenomenal program, built guys that know how to play the game. Is that a familiarity thing too also? All right, well, let's go to, much like you do in the NFL draft, let's go to Duke and get somebody because they're going to have some, pedigree coming from there. Do you think that came into play also?
I don't know. You think that Howie Roseman taking all Georgia players, that type of deal?
Could be.
But I don't – I'm still – and again, maybe I'm trying to convince myself to just make me feel better about the situation. I'm still just thinking he took a player he thinks he can use in a trade. I really do. I just can't imagine – he starts that clip you just played talking about how we're striving to be up there with the best team in the East, but then talk about a guy who could grow over time. It's kind of – they don't make sense. They don't go hand in hand.
Could it be that he took McCain and there's somebody in the second round, which is a nothing, it's a non-guaranteed contract, all of those things, that after today – which the draft starts at 4 o'clock, that maybe somebody picks something at, 38, 45, and he says, yeah, let's do a swap there and pick up an asset. That wouldn't surprise you, right?
Possible. I'd love to see them take Bronny today.
That would be fun. Why would you love that, Bill? Why would you love that?
Well, one, it'll get me excited that maybe there's a chance that LeBron comes here, because that's the pipe dream right there. But you talk about maybe drafting a player, if Jared McCain's that guy that you could put together in a trade. I think Bronny's a guy that if he's never going to play here, maybe there's a team that comes knocking saying, hey, we want to trade for him. Maybe the LA Lakers want to trade for him. So I would take him and then try to use him as trade bait as well.
Yeah, the pick has just caused, I think, more questions than answers. What are you going to do now? You made the pick. Are you surprised that they stayed there? We're going with what you think of what the Sixers did. What do you think? 610-632-0975. Then I want you to label one word to it. We're going to make up a list of all the words that we label towards this Sixers draft from last night. 610-632-0975. Those on the line. Wait, we'll get to you as soon as we get back. If you want to text us, we're going to read some of those coming up also. That and a whole lot more. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. 11 o'clock hour here on Middays. Bill Colarulo with us all day long. Tom Alvord producing. I'm Bob Cooney. We're doing a lot of talk about what happened last night. Draft night. You only have them 4 times a year. And only a few of them really matter because, not matter. Like, I'm not putting down the NHL draft. You got Matvei Michkov at number 7 just a couple years ago, and now he's coming over. That's huge excitement for the Flyers. But I'm not going to lie. I'll say there's probably going to be some Boston College kids, some Minnesota kids, South Dakota kid. Like, those guys are going to go in the draft this weekend in the NHL. You asked me to name one. Sorry, guys. I just can't. That'll be interesting. We'll see what comes out of it this weekend, but we don't go into it the way we probably go into an NFL draft and an NBA draft. And we had that NBA draft last night. Sixers taking Jared McCain out of Duke. I'm asking you today, your reaction to it. What do you think of it all? I think that it raises more questions than answers. That was my thought last night. And when I have questions, I like to talk to people about it. So I'm putting it out there to you because I want to have conversation about it. 610-632-0975. If they keep it, to me, it becomes a better pick when you pick up other things. If you get a starting 5, if you get a big name like Kevin Durant, let's just say, he comes in, and then you fill out the roster behind Durant and Maxey and Joel Embiid, and then you look at Jared McCain as a guy coming off the bench as an 8th guy, 9th guy, whatever, and you grow him, okay, that becomes an okay pick. If it's what Daryl Morey said at some points last night, oh, no, yeah, he's going to have to get some time this year, and we do consider ourselves one of the best teams in the East, then that's head-scratching. So there's questions. I've asked this. Let us know what you think of the pick, what you think is going on with the Sixers, maybe what questions you have. But also, I want you to put one-word label on what happened last night. 610-632-0975. I think Chuck in Cherry Hill has one. Chuck, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Doing good, Chuck. How about you?
I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm between two. I can't figure out if the word is underwhelmed or confused. I don't see where these two guys, where this kid and Maxey could ever really play at the same time for any more than a couple minutes. That they would not be able to defend. And you're talking about winning now. I thought the kid from Tennessee was a much better option. He's older. He's taller. He's a good shooter as well. And I think he would have been more ready from day one.
Now, as the draft is going on, Chuck, and as I said, I didn't even really bring Dalton Connect up at all over the last couple of weeks because, my mock drafts that I looked and all the, stuff that you look at had him going top 10. And then he starts falling. And I'm looking on Twitter and people are going, I can't believe this kid's not going to last to 14, to 15. And then he's there at 16 and they pass. What was your disappointment level?
Pretty high. I was watching with my son, and we were both pleasantly surprised that Connect was still around, and we're certain that was the way the Sixers were going to go. So nothing against McCain. To me, the fit is completely off.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chuck, and thanks for the call. I'll mark you down as both confused and underwhelmed. The Connect thing, I think, would have just intrigued me. I think we know right now what Jared McCain is. And, we see it, a smaller guard. He can shoot really well. With guards, a compact guard who's tough. And Jay Billis had some really, and we'll play that a little bit later. Jay Billis was really going overboard on how much he liked Jared McCain. I'm not saying overboard in a mean way. I'm saying he really likes the kid that way.
That got me excited. And then I went and watched some of the other videos Billis did about other prospects. He was saying some kind things about everybody drafted last night.
Yeah, and it's like I think more so in the NBA than any others, you do get that. Oh, okay, I can see this. It's more of that one-on-one thing, and usually there is praise. But with Connect, it really intrigued me. I was like, okay, if you're going for a guy and you're going to keep it, I don't think you're looking for a starter. I don't think it's looking for, this is your third option behind Maxey and Embiid. Any of that. I wanted that 6'5" shooter, wild card type of guy. I definitely would have gone there. Did you guys look at it? Were you guys looking at the board that way at all? Or was it more of a sit back and see what happens?
Once you saw Connect that he kept dropping, all you had to do was scroll Twitter, and people were shocked that he kept dropping. So you thought that was going to be the pick, but again, I'm still trusting that Daryl Morey picked McCain because he knows something that we don't know. There's some other team that really likes McCain. Because if the plan was to draft a guy who's 6'2", and pair him with Maxey in the backcourt, to me that wouldn't make sense. You're right. Connect would have been a better fit. I think probably has even more upside than McCain does. But again, blind trust for now until he shows me otherwise that there was no plan. I have to believe that McCain is part of a bigger strategy in a couple weeks.
Tom, were you watching the board and just going down and saying, like, because my son and I were texting, and he had Walker and Connect. He's like, either one of those guys. He says, I'm Connect first, Walker second. And then they went with McCain, and he was disappointed. What, were you watching the board and all, Tom?
Yeah, it is surprising. Like, I don't, college basketball, it's kind of lost its luster a little bit for me. So obviously I'm doing research on these guys before the draft, but not nearly as much as I was doing like 10 years ago, 5 years ago when I was into it. But I had heard the name Connect. I know a lot of people liked him, and the fit made a lot more sense. I think that's the biggest thing here is we would have felt, a lot of Sixers fans out there would have felt a lot better about the Connect pick just in the sense of this. A lot of Sixers fans want this player traded away regardless. They want this player at 16 drafted to be traded for another bigger player that comes over here, whether it's Durant, as you mentioned, whether it's Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, Paul George, whoever it may be. But the backup plan, the fall-through plan, you feel a lot better if it connects the guy just because the fit makes so much more sense. Being that 6'5" wing type of player that you could still insert into this lineup a little bit more seamlessly, unlike a guy like McCain where, like you said it, unless you're a couple minutes a game, how does he really fit next to a guy like Tyrese Maxey? So I think it just would have made a lot of Sixers fans feel better in the sense of, hey, if this falls back, this falls through, and there's not a big trade to be made, at least the guy you picked at 16 fits a little bit better with your team.
Yeah, and somebody on our YouTube page says, look, Connect could be Doug McDermott. Yeah, sure. You're right. He could be. And that's why every general manager and every coach I've ever talked to said describes the draft as a crapshoot. You don't. You just don't know. You hope you do, but you just don't. And we'll see how this all plays out. Again, round 2 starts today at 4 o'clock. The Sixers with the 41st pick, the 11th overall pick today. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we have some more answers as opposed to more questions tomorrow. Sean in Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Sean?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
How you doing?
Good. My word for the draft pick is definitely strategic. I think, Bill, you hit the nail on the head. I don't think they're drafting this player to be in the rotation year 1 or even year 2. I think back to when Morey had his post-playoff press conference, and he said, when they asked him about the draft, he said, rookies rarely make an impact year 1, and we're in win-now mode, more or less. So I think the McCain pick is really, like Bill, like you said, to set up a trade for later. To who knows? I hope Morey's got something kind of up his sleeve, but I think looking at apples to apples, McCain to Connect kind of a finished product. McCain's got the upside, and he's got the social media following, which I think will be attractive to some team in a rebuild looking to bring fans in outside of the basketball that McCain brings.
Did you ever think back in the day, Sean, that we'd be talking about social media as far as bringing somebody to a team? But
No,
you're right.
not
You're right. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely, I think, a draw. I think a general manager who's struggling with tickets and struggling to sell tickets is probably thinking, hey, if we can get a charismatic guy in here who has high upside that people outside the basketball will like, that'll fill seats, and that's a value too. So I think that's definitely at play with the McCain pick, and I hope, Bill, to your point, that he already has something lined up with the GM who has that thought process.
Sean, appreciate it. Thanks so much. We have you down as strategic. Bill, he's jumping right on line with what you had to say. Something in the future.
And to his point about the whole TikTok thing, to put this into perspective for some people, the 76ers have a TikTok account. They have 1 million followers.
Yep.
Jared McCain has close to 3 million followers.
And tell me about the TikTok he posted that you showed me during the break.
Yeah, he has TikToks of himself painting his nails that have close to 20 million views. So this is a guy that if you want to maybe bring some fans into the building, not that the Sixers have a hard time filling that building. We have some pretty loyal fans, but it is a way, it's a new world. So if you look at these sports teams as more than just a team and they're a business, well, a guy with 3 million followers who's posting videos getting 20 million views, he could do a lot for the business side of your sport.
Yeah. It is amazing. I being older than you guys and the people out there that are so into TikTok, I swear I'm getting to the point where I really just want to do without like social media and stuff like that. And you learn stuff from it and all, but there's just so much stuff on there that for me, I'm just not all that interested in. But it's funny, we talk about copycat, and some people have brought this up, and I think some of our YouTubers have also. Copycat. Let's not forget, Nick Nurse won an NBA championship, okay? The guard rotation on that championship team, as far as starter, backup, or kind of plug in together, was Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. Two small guards. Two guards that if you look like, man, I would love if Tyrese Maxey plays out like Kyle Lowry's. Man, you would love if Jared McCain's career, I don't say love, but you could see similarities of him being maybe a backup early on, much like a Fred VanVleet was when Nick Nurse won a title with the Toronto Raptors.
We've had multiple texters say that same thing as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, bringing up the same exact thing where, hey, they won with VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, so those YouTubers aren't alone.
One major difference, though. Kyle Lowry's a true point guard.
Yeah.
Maxey nor McCain are true point guards.
Yeah. Yeah, true point guard. I'm glad you brought that up. Like, the phrase when I was getting out of covering the Sixers around the NBA was positionless basketball, right? You just put 5 best guys out there. You have 7'2" Joel Embiid shooting threes and, different guys doing different things. Is there, and an honest question, Bill, because I don't know do you think NBA teams need that true point guard now?
Well, if you look at the last few years, probably not. LeBron James isn't a true point guard, but yet he's bringing the ball up most of the time.
And averaging like 8 assists a game, yeah.
So, but the issue I look at is not necessarily the words true point guard as much as a facilitator.
Yeah.
McCain at Duke averaged under 2 assists a game. So he's not going to be a Kyle Lowry type player. And Maxey, love him. But I don't know how much of a facilitator he is in helping other players. I know he's grown in that way, but they look like they're too similar of players for it to work like a Lowry and VanVleet did.
Right. So, interesting copycat thing there. Tom, you mentioned some texts. How about if we go to some of them that we're talking about the 76ers on our topic this morning?
Cool. So we got Dustin from Sicklerville saying, my word for the pick last night is confused. Thought questions would be answered, but instead more questions are being asked now. How just now patient can we be as Sixers fans? I'm a very patient man, but I'm starting to lose that patience. What plan are we on now? Plan Z?
Fair enough. Very, very fair. The immediate patience, I think, has to be there a little bit because we don't know exactly what's going on with this roster. Daryl Morey has to have some kind of a plan. Overall patience, totally understand. If you've lost it, totally get that. Because, I don't know, Bill, if within the next few weeks, Kevin Durant's here.
Oh, then I'm feeling a lot different.
Well, then the patience is okay, I should have been more patient because Daryl Morey knew what he was doing.
No, you and Amy were correct yesterday. When we talk about patience, I will lose my patience if come October we're tipping off the season and it's a bunch of role players around Maxey and Embiid. If there's not that third star, there's not that finished plan of, okay, we have a real shot here to compete in the East, then I'm going to lose my patience. But I will be patient over the next couple of weeks because, yes, free agency still hasn't hit. The only trades that we've really seen happen were Alex Caruso, which, how does Alex Caruso get traded for Josh Giddey, but yet Mikal Bridges gets 6 first-round picks possibly? That doesn't make sense. So I will be patient over the next couple of weeks. I'm just not going to have much patience if we're tipping off with, well, we're going to punt again. Maybe somebody will be available at the trade deadline, and then that turns out to be a Buddy Hield.
I'm in complete agreement with you, Bill. Like, I'm willing to be patient. I'm not freaking out about the McHale trade. I'm not freaking out about this McCain pick. I'll give Morey a little bit of time, But you only get so much time. If we're tipping off first game of the NBA season and it's Kelly Oubre as your third best player and some role players, my patience is gone. I'm not worrying about, I'll kick the can down the road. Maybe something will happen at the deadline. Well, hey, maybe it won't. So I'm willing to be patient this offseason, but just this offseason, because if a big move isn't made game one, then my patience is gone at that point.
Yeah.
And I was just looking. I know different players, different eras, but you look at Shaq, right? Joel Embiid's 30 now. Joel Embiid's been in the league 10 years. I know he had the foot injury early. But you look at Shaq, when he was 30, he had 27.5 points a game. Never matched that again after his 30th birthday. It was downhill after that. So I don't expect Joel Embiid to hit a wall in the next couple of years, but I do think the window is getting close. That window is getting close to where you're not going to have the most dominant player in the NBA when healthy, maybe 3 or 4 years from now. So that's why we're losing our patience. That's why when Tom talks about patience, I'm talking about patience. You have to do something to be a contender right now, because I hate to admit this, but Bob knows this, Tom knows this. Boston Celtics aren't going anywhere. That team is built. They are built to compete for the next couple of seasons. They don't have to do anything, and they are an extremely good team. You just saw it, and now the Knicks have gotten better. Giannis will be healthy next year. Mm-hmm. We can't keep punting. We cannot miss this opportunity of Joel Embiid, as good as he is. And it'll be a criminal. We talk about this with Bryce Harper, some other athletes in this city. Joel's got to raise that trophy one day. He's been that good. He is that good. It will be criminal if we go his entire career without an NBA title.
Yeah. So how do you build around it? It's still the question. Before we get to more text, Tom, let me get to Jay in West Philly. Jay, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, what's going on, Bob?
How you doing, buddy?
I've definitely got a question about Morey also, because his transactions, he wasn't able to make any transactions. You think, because his past history with his China comments and executives are colluding with him, or he being blackballed? Because he hasn't been able to really do nothing, because Josh Harris made that Harden trade.
Josh Harris made the Harden trade?
Yeah, remember they said they had to move it along, and the owners just got together. It was like, all right, look, we doing this. Because remember, Corey didn't want to move him at that time. He was still going to try and hold out for Harden.
Yeah, I mean,
the owners got together.
Yeah,
it was just like, hey, look, I don't want this distraction.
It was damning when Harden went to China and called Daryl Morey a liar and all that.
But remember when Morey made his comments about the NBA deal?
Yes, of course.
China and stuff like that.
Yep.
And he had a whole lot of backlash and everything. And like I said, he hasn't been able to get his star hunting thing together. Like you said, a lot of trades was in the works, but I think people colluding against him.
All right, so what's your word, Jay? If you look at last night and what happened, to keep it up to date now, you look at last night and see what the Sixers did. What's your one word to describe what happened?
I got one more thing about Embiid. Then I give you my word about.
All right.
We talking about our patience, right? What about Joe's patience?
I brought that up yesterday. It's a good question, Jay.
Okay. My word is better. This better lead to something else. Or some kind of transaction.
Better not that the team's better, but it better lead to something else.
Yeah, it better lead to something else.
Jay, always love talking to you. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. It better lead to something else. Some other things are coming. How they come about, we just don't know. Other things are coming. You got to fill out this roster. You need another star player. There's no question about that. That has to come. If it doesn't, hugely disappointing. If it waits until after the season started, man, I don't want to be around. I don't want to be around the reaction of this city if that's what it comes down to. We'll talk more Sixers and what happened last night. I also want to dive a little bit into the Phillies, as they did something yesterday. We were talking about one word. I have one word to describe the Phillies. And also, I think I want to play a little draft game with everybody. We're all talking about the Sixers draft last night. I want to do a draft with the 4 local teams. We might have to keep it to 3 because the Sixers really don't have a team yet. And I want you to draft the players on those teams. Like, who would be your number 1 pick for the Phillies? And you can only pick the people on the Phillies. You're starting a baseball team. I want you to do a draft pick of that. You're starting a football team. I want you to draft Eagles players. We'll play that game with you also when we get back. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays, 11:30 on this Thursday morning. Hope you're having a great one. I think weather-wise, we're supposed to be good today and tomorrow. Maybe some stuff moving in during the weekend, but whatever you got going on, I hope everything goes well for you. I was just looking at our Twitter page, and we're getting a lot of one-word answers. On the selection of Jared McCain by the 76ers last night out of Duke with the 16th overall pick. And, you know, as I said earlier, we can have questions about it now. Maybe those questions are answered later. Maybe this becomes a better pick later when you talk about what Daryl Morey does with this basketball team moving forward, because there still has to be a lot of moves that go on with the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, I teased it before, and we talked about it during the break. Want to have a fun little game as far as drafting goes. Okay, we're still going to talk Sixers. I want to hear what you have to say about the pick that the Sixers made last night in Jared McCain. But I want to put a draft out there for this city, and it involves all the teams. It involves Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, Phillies. You have the number one pick right now, and you can choose any player of those four teams to be your number one pick. I want this guy in my city. He's number one. We're going to go down the list. Whoever calls first, 610-632-0975, you're going to get the number one pick. And we'll keep working it down until we get like a top 10, top 15, maybe if there's interest, a top 20. But 610-632-0975. Want to hear what you think about the Sixers pick in Jared McCain, but also who would be your number one pick among the whole city? We'll cross that person off the list. We'll go to number two, and so on and so forth. So we're going a lot of draft talk today, but I do want to hit on the Phillies real quick before we get back to that. I used one word to describe them in my notes last night, Bill. Methodical. This team was built to hit, right? Built to hit 1 through 7, 8, and 9. We're going to be defensive stars that you were hoping to get a little hitting from. But yesterday I saw something, and the morning show alluded to it a little bit. There are 5 teams in Major League Baseball that are the top 5 run scorers, but also have the top 5 ERAs in baseball. I believe that's exactly how it was. And the Phillies are one of them. I saw somebody on national TV yesterday say the Phillies have the best pitching staff in all of baseball.
Hard to argue.
How do you like describe this team to yourself now that they are, I don't know, what are they, 80 games in, 5, 6, 7, 80 games in exactly.
And they're sitting there with a plus 122 run differential, which is the best in all of Major League Baseball. You need one word to describe them? Man, I was going to use 2. I don't want to.
You could use 2 because I'll give you mine. I don't think I did give mine. Methodical.
Methodical's a great one because they are kind of ho-hum, win another game. And I think it was Bryce Harper who used this word. This may have been a few games ago, where they talked about after they win a game, they flush it, they move on to the next game.
Yeah.
You hear that about losses. You don't hear that often about wins. And that's kind of what this team's mentality has been from spring training, is they had a goal in mind that they wanted to win the NL East. They had a bad taste in their mouth from last year. Let me think about what my word would be. Tom, you got one?
I do have one, yeah. My first thing that pops in my head is deep. This team is deep, and I think that's why the entire team as a whole has been so dominant this entire season. The pitching staff, as you mentioned, maybe the best in all of baseball, probably the best in all of baseball. It's not just because you have top 2 guys in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. No, a lot of teams out there have top 2 horses. It's because you have Ranger Suarez as your 3, technically coming into the season, who's got an ERA, right above 2 at this point. Your number 4 guy in Christopher Sanchez has an ERA under 3, and Spencer Turnbull, we'll see what happens with the injury, was a guy that had an ERA under 2 in 6 starts this season before yesterday. It's deep, that pitching rotation. The bullpen is deep. Guys like Kerkering, guys like Strom and Jeff Hoffman are able to come in here, and they're not even the top couple guys you think of when you think about that bullpen. And, of course, the lineup. When you have a guy like Castellanos batting 7th for you, and I know we like to bag on Castellanos a lot, that guy's a 270 hitter his career who hits 25 homers a year when things are working out. We talk about Bohm and Stott as well. This team is deep. That's the first thing I think of when I think of the Phillies.
Yeah, I like the word for everything except the outfield because I don't think the outfield is very deep.
There's no perfect team, though, however.
There is not. There is not. But you bring up Nick Castellanos, and I talked about this on my Tuesday night show. Him and Bryce Harper were both in hot streaks, and I said, you can trust Bryce Harper's hot streak. This is who he is. I still will never trust Nick Castellanos. It doesn't matter how hot he gets because you saw him white hot in the division series, and then the guy just completely disappeared. And I said, well, was that just kind of an outlier? So I went back and looked at Nick Castellanos throughout his career, and you're right, he's a 273 hitter in his career. There are so many months throughout his career where he just completely disappears. He's been with the Philadelphia Phillies for 16 months, 16 baseball months. 9 out of those 16 times, he's bat less than his 273 average. 7 of those times, he's bat less than 230 in a season. And then you go to the postseason. In 2014 with the Tigers, he bat 100. In 2022 with the Phillies, he batted 185 the year they went to the World Series. He batted 125 in the World Series. Last season, he batted 213, and he batted 42 in the NLCS. Not 242, not 142, 042. So I agree with you. I like that Castellanos has the power. I'm going to live with him in right field. But for me, I don't think the outfield is deep enough if the true goal is a World Series. They could win it. They could, but make this team as bulletproof as possible.
Well, and we still had the deadline, right? Like, if this is the same outfield after the deadline, then I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily ready to win well, not ready. I don't think it's necessarily the deepest outfield you could have going into a World Series run here, but we still have the deadline. I think the rest of the team's really deep, so I'll give Dombrowski a couple months to figure out the outfield.
No, and you're right. And we were talking about patience for Daryl Morey. I'll be patient that Dombrowski will do something because I do trust in Dave Dombrowski. It's hard not to. The guy's won with 4 different franchises, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want to be negative about the Phillies. Trust me.
Castellanos to have you going off.
I don't want to be negative about the Phillies because what's to be negative about? But what I'm saying is if it's World Series or bust and you have assets and you have an ability to try to make this lineup even deeper, because it is deep, but even deeper, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I said it, I think last week that I want the times the way they were. I want Brandon Marsh hitting 8th. I want Johan Rojas hitting 9th. And let the others go, 1 through 7, and 7 is Castellanos. I'm okay with that. And if the other players are hitting the way they should hit and this lineup is made the way it is, and the pitching, my God, the way the pitching's been. Like, it's just customary. You know, Turnbull goes out after 3 innings yesterday. Okay. Hey, you guys, come on in, except for Alvarado having a little wonky bit of a 9th. Let's just throw, 6 scoreless innings up at somebody. Don't give up, more than like 2 hits. And that's just who they've become. And it's really, really fun to watch. All right, the fun thing that we're putting out there for you now. All the players in this city are available to you for a draft. I'm not talking for that specific sport. I'm not going to give you a team. I'm going to say if you wanted to draft this player, number 1 overall in Philadelphia, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, Phillies, who would it be? Frank in Upper Moreland. He's got one. Frank, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for making the call.
Well, like the show, especially in the summertime, I have a little bit more time to visit, and with the Phillies doing so good. Your producer was going to have me do the Phillies, but I'm going to pull a little bit of an audible. I think I'm going to go I would go the Eagles.
No, hold on. Now, Frank, here's the rules. We changed them up a little bit. We're not doing teams. You're just taking a player, any player from any of the teams, to say this is the number 1 athlete I want in this city. So who's your number 1 pick?
Right?
What's that?
Age matters because I'm starting
You're starting athletes in this city, and you need a number 1 pick that's playing right now. Who would it be?
If it's just the number 1 player in the city for me, it's Bryce Harper.
Okay. Harper is off the list. I think that's probably number 1 on many people's list. The numbers that he's putting up right now, Frank, are just astronomical.
Yeah, and who else is doing great? Bohm? Isn't Bohm leading for the All-Star vote?
Yeah, Bohm's, he's got like a 1.5 million. He's got some crazy lead. He'll be your starting third baseman. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. He'll be your starting third baseman. The Phillies, I was watching pregame live the other night. We've done it on here before. Who do you think's going to make the All-Star team? I think Ricky and Michael Barkan close to 9.
Wow.
That's how good they've been.
Yeah,
It
they have
is,
been.
and some of it is weird voting. Like, if he's held, JT Realmuto's probably going to lock up the second catcher. Bryce Harper's going to be your starting first baseman. Stott wasn't second in voting, was he? But he was top 3. Third. Trey Turner has a shot. I think he was second.
Especially with Mookie being
and
down,
Mookie
which he
being
was.
out now.
He'll probably make it.
Bohm's going to be a starter. So, like, here's what I hit 5. I don't think any of the outfielders deserve it. Let's just be honest, even though I think it was 5, 6, 7 when Castellanos, Marsh, Rojas.
Even Stott doesn't deserve it. But
Probably not.
The
No.
Phillies,
Nah, not this year.
The
No.
Phillies organization, though, you got to give them credit. I don't know if you've been down to a game. There's people everywhere grabbing you saying, hey, do you want a free bandana? All you got to do is vote for the All-Star game. They're really doing a strong push, so give them credit for promoting their players, but it helps that the team's been so good. There's so much interest in this team.
Absolutely.
That's why the votes are up.
I mean, Schwarber could get up to number 2 in DH, maybe. And then you got to look at the pitching staff. You could get 2 out of 2 starters, maybe 3.
Probably 2, maybe a possibility of 3.
Wheeler and Suarez are definite.
Yeah, just because like Noel's having a really good season. There's some other really good seasons in the National League, but I would say definitely 2, possibly 3.
And then you have to get a bullpen arm or 2.
Strahm and Hoffman both have ERAs under 1.
Yeah, how does Strahm not make
It
it?
just sounds like an all-star to me when your ERA's under 1.
It is so crazy what they are doing out there. So we have a lot of talk going on today. Obviously, reaction to what the Sixers did. We were looking for one word as to, and look, you can combine all these on your call, 610-632-0975. We're talking about Sixers. What's your reaction to it? And then label a word to what they did last night in taking Jared McCain. We're also looking for a draft here. We're playing draft among the players in this city. Who would you draft with the number 2 pick now? Bryce Harper is off the board. He was taken number 1 overall. As the athlete, you would take number 1 in this city overall. 610-632-0975. A reminder, Nick Stauskas, former Sixer, a guy that played the guard position in the NBA. He's going to give us his thoughts on what the Sixers did last night in the 1 o'clock hour. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back, Middays, along with Bill Colarulo, Tom Alvord producing. I'm Bob Cooney. Glad to have you with us. A lot of Sixers talk going on today. I just went on our Twitter page along with our phone calls. We're up to close to 40 one-word responses to the drafting of Jared McCain last night, which is cool. We'd love to get your thoughts on it, 610-632-0975. Also, we put out there to have a little draft fun. You can pick any athlete in this city. We are doing a draft. I want to see what the top 10, maybe 15 are in this city in your mind. We already have the number one pick, taking number one overall in the Philadelphia area. Center fielder, first baseman, Bryce Harper.
Definitely not center fielder.
No. So Harper is off the list. Who is your number two pick among all the athletes in this city? 610-632-0975. Would love to hear from you what you think the number two pick would be after Bryce Harper. A lot of people to choose from. You know who they are. All right, tonight, this afternoon, it starts, 4 o'clock, NBA second round. Sixers 41st overall, 11th pick today, so it won't take all that long to find out what they're going to do. Bill, if I'm asking you if I'm going to ask you to look in your crystal ball, and you say, all right, this time tomorrow we're going to be sitting here, Bob, and this is what we're going to be talking about. I say this a lot. You can't really give specifics. I don't think we're going to be sitting here talking about, and you're going to give me a guy at 41, but in general, what do you think is going to be the talking point tomorrow when it comes to the 76ers after another round has been gotten today?
Pipe dream, we're talking about, is LeBron coming because they drafted Bronny? Realistic, I think we're sitting here talking about the same thing we're talking about today is, what's the plan? What's going on? Maybe they trade a pick today, pick up some assets. Maybe they draft a player. But I still think we're going to be sitting here patiently, and I'm putting that in quotes, patiently, because we're not that patient, but patiently waiting for the next shoe to drop as to what is the plan. Daryl Morey told us they're going to be competing in the East. Well, how are you going to make that happen? Because we still have no idea what this roster is going to look like.
I'll tell you, those were strong words, weren't they, Tom? And I apologize, YouTubers. I just put a contact in. It's stinging a little bit. Those are strong words from Daryl Morey to say we're still looking to compete with Boston after what they did yesterday, ? What was your thoughts on his comments there? And we can play them, too.
Yeah, he said, top team in the Eastern Conference? That's what we're hoping to be. Yeah, I mean, look, I'd prefer him to say that, where it's like, yeah, maybe we'll be the 5th seed this upcoming season. I don't know. So, obviously, he's going to talk his team up, Daryl Morey, and any GM is going to do that. When it comes to what I think we're going to be talking about, I have a gut feeling we're going to be talking about a trade. Now, I don't know if that trade is for more assets in the future. I don't know if that trade is for a veteran type of player, role player that we were expecting last night. Maybe that trade's the big trade we were expecting for the third all-star on this team. My gut tells me we're probably going to be talking about a trade tomorrow in this exact same scenario.
Okay, major.
It feels minor right now, but I'm just going to say trade.
Okay. All right, fair enough. It's going to be intriguing what goes on today because it does get heightened. The more time that goes on and you're waiting for that other super or star to land and it doesn't, or a bigger move to be made and it doesn't, yeah, it's going to get more and more interesting. We'll see how we're going to be talking about it tomorrow, but can't wait. Michael in Yardley wants to talk about the draft and has our second overall pick in Philadelphia. Michael, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
What's up, Bob? How you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, buddy.
Afternoon. I should say good morning. It's about to be afternoon.
Yeah, we got a few more minutes.
I think the second pick has to be Joel Embiid.
Okay, Joel Embiid is off the board. I don't have any complaints with that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I could sneak.
No more names.
Yeah, I'm not going to ruin it. But, that has to be because clearly when you're talking about the best in the league and in terms of any leagues, Joel Embiid is the top 5 player in the NBA. You could argue with your mom about that. It's undoubted. It's undoubtedly so or true that Joel Embiid is a top 5 player in the NBA. So naturally, if he's in Philadelphia, he has to go on the top of our list.
I look, first two players are MVPs in Bryce Harper and Joel Embiid. I am not going to complain about that at all. Michael, what did you think of the draft last night, and where did it leave you as far as the 76ers go?
It left me confused. It's like mixed signaling. It's like, it's like the girlfriend or the girl who you want to make your girlfriend. She cuddles you, in public and everything, but you ask her to be the girlfriend. You give her the promise ring, and she says she's not ready. Like, it's mixed signaling. You say you want to attack and strike while the iron's hot, but you're making moves for the future, or at least from the outside, it looks like you're making moves for the future. So is it something that we're trying to attack now and win now as Joel Embiid is in his prime, or is this kind of like a rebuild and we're kind of into the, whole trust the process thing all over again?
Yeah, Michael, that's a great call. Really appreciate you calling. That's an awesome one. Great thought there. Joel Embiid goes number 2. Bill, I don't think we have any problem with the first 2 picks so far.
Hard to disagree. Like you said, both of them MVPs, both at the top of their game in their respective sports. It is crazy, though. We didn't talk about it that much today, but with Bryce Harper, as amazing as he is doing right now, that Shohei Ohtani is not only keeping stride with him, but maybe actually outperforming him.
Oh, I have numbers here. Don't you know it? It is on the show sheet. I have numbers here that we are going to bring up later on in the show. It is amazing what the two of them are doing. It's like they're battling each other without playing against each other, because there are numbers here that when I give you, it's going to blow your mind. I don't think you were here earlier when I gave them. I think I was giving them to Andrew only earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some fun with that. But Bryce Harper is so much see TV right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really is unbelievable. So those are the first 2 draft picks off the board, Harper and Embiid. I'm curious to see who number 3 is going to be.
Well, let's check it out. Eric in Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Eric?
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm going to go with Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is your number 3 overall pick. Why?
I think he's the best left on the board.
Okay.
I think he's third best left on the board.
All right, fair enough. I'm not gonna argue. It's your draft. Everyone out there, it's your draft at 610-632-0975. You take Jalen Hurts off the board. Eric, what did you think about the Sixers draft last night, and how does it leave you feeling?
Puzzled. One word.
Oh, puzzled
Puzzled's
is
a good
one that we don't have on here. Eric, thanks so much for the call. Really appreciate it. I have a list. I'm up to 38. And puzzled, there's some ones that were doubled, but puzzled.
Puzzled is a good one. And his pick of Jalen Hurts. Now, I know Bryce Harper, Joel Embiid are at the top of their game. But you could make the argument that as good as Bryce Harper is, first base isn't as important of a position, or center isn't as important of a position as the starting quarterback in the National Football League. Is probably, not probably, I'm going to say definitely, I don't think anyone can disagree, is the most important position in all of sports.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe Jalen Hurts is the correct answer, but if you don't have faith in Jalen, then it doesn't really matter.
There it is. It's like fit. Is it best player available? So that's why we're having fun with this. Today's a fun draft day. We're talking about what the Sixers did last night. Obviously, want to hear what you have to say about that. But then we're having our own fun little draft. And you can draft anybody in this city, professional player. We want like the top 15, 10, 15, maybe 20 so far off the board. Number 1, Bryce Harper. Number 2, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. And we'll talk about where this all falls out because I already have some opinions on it. 610-632-0975. Love to hear from you. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays, just afternoon here at the Fanatic. Bill Colarulo joining us today. Tom Alford filling in for that dude Ray Dunn. I'm starting to forget who he is. And he's going to come back for like a day or two next week, and then he'll be gone again. So it is vacation time here at the Fanatic. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Beautiful weather outside. We're having a lot of fun today. Obviously, we're dissecting what the 76ers did last night as they drafted Jared McCain from the University of Duke, a former Blue Devil, one-and-done guard at 6'2", shooter. I can't help but say it raised more questions for me than it gave answers, because I don't know if this guy plays out to be the best NBA player he could possibly be. I think that turns into Tyrese Maxey. You already have one of them. Can they play together? We've already pointed out a lot of different ways that we don't think it can. So there's going to be more on the docket for Daryl Morey, as there has to be. And is there a superstar or a star in the future that's coming here? The name Kevin Durant starts to rise to the surface as a name that might be a player that might not be fitting in Phoenix anymore. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I understand that there has to be patience for the here and now, because you still have another pick. You have to make some moves. The overall patience, I also understand, might be waning a little bit. We're also playing a fun game. You have all the athletes in Philadelphia here. You have to draft them. Draft them in order of how you think they're most important, one you want the most, whatever it may be. Off the board so far. Whoa, there's a phone thing going on. That happened yesterday at this time. Tom, you know what that is? All right, sorry about that. That's weird.
I don't know what side.
Exact same time yesterday it happened,
yeah,
remember?
I have no idea.
So, off the board right now, number 1 pick, Bryce Harper. Number 2 overall, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. So we're looking for your 4th pick. Also, we want to talk about what you thought about the 76ers draft last night. Joe in the Northeast, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Joe?
Good morning, guys. Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
I can't complain.
Good. What'd you think of the draft last night, Joe?
I got a great word. It's perplexed, because I'm just don't make no sense.
Now, talk about it a little bit. Where were when it was coming up, or I don't know how you watched the draft, or you're just reacting to what you saw, but what was your overall take as it was coming up when they did it? I know you say perplexed, but where did you think they might go, or what did you expect them to do?
I expected them, like you said, build for the here and now. Shoot. I thought they were going to trade this. Honestly, I thought they were going to trade the pick. Trade the pick and then trade back or trade for somebody. For now, that's win now, and that's what I thought they were going to do. But they drafted him, and I thought they would have taken the guy who went after him from Tennessee. But they took him, and I was, he's a TikTok star. I don't think we needed that here, so I'm perplexed.
Okay, perplexed is in the log here. Now, what about you have the 4th overall pick, Joe, off the board of Bryce Harper, Joel Embiid, Jalen Hurts. Who's your 4th overall pick?
I got so many, but I'm just going to go with my heart.
Okay,
I'm going with Maxey, Tyrese.
There it is. Tyrese Maxey goes 4th overall. Joe, appreciate it. I think we're rounding out a pretty good. This might let us know how good we have it here.
What I was just going to say is it's crazy that 2 of the top 4 picks are 76ers, but yet a majority of the fan base is frustrated with the 76ers.
I'll say this. I'll bet you no other 76ers are taken in this draft because there aren't any other ones. Yeah. So
I don't know. People might be hyped about Jared McCain.
That's true. Idea. I'd be shocked if Jared McCain goes in the top 10 or the top 15.
Top 100, maybe.
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty amazed even here in Philadelphia. But I do find today interesting. One, I'm glad that the NBA is starting to draft at 4 o'clock. I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, second round goes a little bit quicker than the first round. So we should know within the first, I would say about an hour and a half, what the Sixers are doing with that 41st pick, 11th overall pick today. I don't know if we'll know anything else as far as moves that they make today. I think this is a weekend thing.
I hope you're right, because it'll be fun for my show if we get some breaking news on the weekend. I'd like that.
I would agree.
Tom's right there with me.
I'm right after you, yeah, or shortly after you. So, yeah, let's wait out till like Saturday, Daryl.
All right, I'm praying for you two, then that's the way it works out.
Thank you.
Okay, you got it. We got Bill in King of Prussia. Bill, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Bill?
What's up, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. What'd you think about the draft last night?
My word would be underwhelming. I think, like Joe said before, they basically duplicated Tyrese Maxey, which we don't need. I have a feeling, though, they are going to trade our pick from yesterday as well as the second overall pick today and get, hopefully, a future star to add to Maxey and Embiid. So, hopefully.
Give me a name, Joe. Or Bill, I'm sorry, because there's so many names that have come and gone when you talked about OG Anunoby and maybe a Paul George and a lot of the names LeBron that it doesn't look like it's going to fit here. Give me a name. Who do you think is a guy, when you say star, that may land here?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do think it's Anunoby.
He's signing with the Knicks.
Oh, yeah, I don't know then.
That's how we are, right, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is. Now, Bill, thanks so much. Appreciate the call. Your reaction yesterday. So I'm home yesterday afternoon, and I see the OG news. And I read it on my phone, and I say and I just out loud, I go, oh, boy. My wife says, what's the matter? I said, just the guy the Sixers were going to get is signing with the team that he's with. So cross that off the board. What was your reaction, Bill? Were you surprised or you thought it was coming?
I thought it was coming because of how much they gave up for Mikal Bridges. I'm thinking, well, they're probably not going to want to lose OG. If they're going all in, which it signals when you overpay for Bridges, whether you like him or not, they overpaid for him. So I thought they were going to bring back OG. And if OG was the only option for the 76ers, then I would have taken it, but he was not going to be my plan A. I don't think him alone would have been enough for the Sixers for me to consider this a successful offseason because his offensive game isn't good enough, in my opinion. And all the issues that Sixers fans have had with Tobias Harris wasn't necessarily on the defensive side. Tobias actually played some good defense. So I thought if you get OG, yeah, you're getting an upgrade, but it wasn't enough of an upgrade to move the needle for me. I wanted there to be another shoe to drop. So, but I am disappointed, not necessarily that the Sixers are losing out on Anunoby, but that the Knicks, they've made themselves a lot better this offseason.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? You saw the news yesterday. It comes out that OG is signing a really, really good deal. Whether he's worth it or not, like Bill said, it makes the Knicks better. The addition of Mikal Bridges makes the Knicks better. All of those things. And it doesn't allow the Sixers maybe to make themselves better.
Yeah, my initial reaction was sounds about right. I think we all kind of expected OG to go back to the Knicks, especially when those rumors started to circulate, even after they traded for Mikal Bridges. My second reaction was, whoa, $42 million a year for OG Anunoby. I'm good. I'm glad he went back to the New York Knicks. Now, look, it makes the Knicks that much tougher of an opponent, absolutely. But if he's your third option making $42 million, that feels a lot like Tobias Harris as your third option making in the high 30s. $30 million, of course. So, to me, I really like the player in OG Anunoby. I think he's better as a fourth best player on a championship contender rather than a third, and the issues that the Sixers have had over the last decade with their third option, at least the last half decade with Tobias Harris. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with the Sixers not being OG Anunoby's choice and him going to the Knicks, if, of course, there is another option that the Sixers are interested in for that third All-Star.
Fair enough. I mean, it is amazing, though, that all the Sixers did last night was sit there at 16 and take a pick. And now there's even more questions than we had yesterday because of all the surrounding stuff that went on. What did you make of Jimmy Butler comes out yesterday, Bill, and says, you know what, I'm gonna play my ass off this year, and I'm going to get that big contract, and you'll see. And we've seen Jimmy Butler talk like this before. But does that make you more think Miami's going to say, oh, good, Jimmy, you do that here? Or is it more of a, well, if you're playing here just to get out of here, let's get you out of here now? How did you take that yesterday, Bill?
I don't know what to think with Jimmy Butler in that whole situation. You know, when Riley said what he had to say at the end of the season about Jimmy Butler and basically told him to just shut his mouth, I thought there's no chance in hell Jimmy Butler's going back to Miami. I still think there's probably a strong chance that Butler gets moved. The issue, though, is, and this is what I don't want to see happen with the Sixers, does it happen now, or is this something that happens midway through the season where they move Butler? I want the moves that the Sixers are going to make to be done before the season. I don't want to hear again Well, the team just didn't have an opportunity to play together that much.
Yeah.
I want us to have the whole season, and maybe you make a trade at the trade deadline to improve your team a little bit, but not try to completely revamp your team. Because you look at the Sixers this season, it was 3 different teams. They had the team with Harden, then they had the team without Harden, and then they had the team after the trade deadline. I don't want that again.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. There's been some different thoughts about what Jimmy Butler meant, what might happen. But, Tom, how did you take it when you heard he came out and said, a more craziness from Jimmy Butler?
Much like we were expecting more answers from the Philadelphia 76ers after last night, when you hear a report from Jimmy Butler coming from Miami, you're expecting to get more answers potentially on what's going to happen to him this offseason. I'm just as confused as I was a week ago, yesterday, all that stuff. So I really don't know what happens. Like, if you're Miami, do you try and go on one more run where, again, you've been to 3 of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals before this past season where Jimmy Butler got hurt, and I'm sure nobody wanted to play you in the playoffs this year before Jimmy Butler got hurt. Do you try and go all in for one more year, signing Bam Adebayo to a big deal as well this year, or yesterday? Or would it shock me if Pat Riley, who's one of the smartest basketball minds in all of the NBA, decides, hey, we're probably not going to bring this guy back because he wants a long-term contract. He's a free agent after next year. Do we just look to get as many assets as possible? It's intriguing. It's tricky. I still think they probably keep him, and he wants to work out one more season there. But knowing the NBA and anything can happen, it wouldn't shock me if he's dealt as well.
Did you get a text message from the person that sat next to me yesterday by any chance?
Actually.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
she tweeted at you?
She tweeted at me and made it public. Yeah, Bam Adebayo, nice player.
Wow.
He's a nice player.
So for background, we were just going through some things, and I think you just threw it out there. It wasn't really a thought-out thing. Tom said, I was talking about how I didn't want Jimmy Butler, and Tom came back and said, well, this is a guy that dragged the likes of Bam Adebayo to an Eastern Conference final, and Amy took umbrage with that right away and said, whoa, dragged Bam Adebayo? So then, sure enough, yesterday, Adebayo, it's reported that he's going to sign this huge contract. Well, one of the first texts I got was from Amy to say, yeah, I might call Bill out on that. And I said,
Tom, yeah.
Or Tom, what did I say? I'm reading Bill. I have Bill down on my sheet. And she's like, yeah, I might as well just text Tom about this because he's getting dragged to this contract.
Listen,
I said, yeah,
there's a lot of big. Scotty Barnes making $270 million. There's a lot of big contracts in the NBA. Is Bam Adebayo ever going to be the second best player on a championship team? No, in my opinion. It didn't happen with Miami. I think a big part of that was Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra there. Regardless, he's a nice player. I'll say that. He's a nice player.
With some nice pockets now. That would help. A lot of money. All right, we're talking about your reaction to the Sixers draft last night, maybe labeling it with a word, and also we're doing a draft here in the city of all the athletes here. We're up to pick number 5. So far, Harper, Embiid, Hurts, and Maxey are gone. Tasty Cake Dom is on the board. Dom, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Bob. Hi, Bill. Dom.
What's going on, Dom?
What's going on, Dom?
What'd you think of the draft last night?
I didn't mind it, Bob.
Oh, is that right? Good.
Yep. I thought you were going to ask me for my word first. So
tell me what you thought of it. Tell me your word, and then give me your pick.
Okay. So my word is responsible because the way I look at it, Bob, you got bounced out of the playoffs by a Knicks team that before the last 2 days was more fundamentally sound than you, was more tenacious than you, and then we don't know what the Sixers are, but right now, today, they're more talented than you. So my word is responsible because I don't know what his plans are, Bob, but if Daryl Morey doesn't think that you got the Celtics out there, right, Bob, and they are what they're, I think more highly of them more than a lot of people. I think Bill said it earlier. They're going to be right there, 60-win team next year. And now you got the Knicks there. If Daryl Morey can't construct a roster that can truly contend with him, I want him to go the other way, and it's time to listen to any phone calls for Joel Embiid. And I want him to be responsible enough to know that. He's the guy, right, Bob, that can evaluate whether he can come close to those two teams. And if he can't, 45 wins and a second-round exit don't do it for me anymore. Does it do it for you?
No, it doesn't do it for anybody, right? So, yeah, if you're going to have to go to extremes to make sure you get past it, yeah.
Right. If that's what they are, I don't want that anymore. I want to listen to what we can while he's still. I heard on the station yesterday that he's lost. A caller said he lost. I still think he can get a lot for Embiid now. Maybe not in 2 years.
Maybe, and I don't know. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. I don't know if I'm ready to go to those extremes. And Andrew and I have talked about it on air and off. I think I am at the point where I'll go down with the ship with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's my ship. I'll go down with it. I'll wait it out. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, you can figure out a way of because
you don't trade him. You don't trade Joel.
No, and Tyrone, you were on the show with him the other day. I thought it was such an interesting topic about why do people think Joel Embiid's reached his peak? He's had 3 straight years of acceleration in his game. Who says to say he's not going to do it some more?
Yeah, it was a good point by Tyrone. Now, look, he's 30, so if he is still ascending, he's not going to ascend for much longer. I think he's getting pretty damn close to that peak. I don't think the window's closed yet, but we're also getting close to that window. But you don't trade Joel Embiid. And the main issue I have with the trade Joel Embiid crowd is anywhere you trade him to and you get draft picks back, they're not going to be very high draft picks. Joel Embiid over the next few years, they're going to be a winning team. So you're going to have, at best, middle-of-the-pack draft picks again. So it doesn't make sense to me to unload one of the best players in the NBA. And I don't think that you have lost in the playoffs because of Joel Embiid. It's because you're looking for the other pieces that you haven't found yet.
Yeah, and if it is because of Joel Embiid, injury is a factor, and that's not really his fault, right?
And even this series against the Knicks, Joel Embiid wasn't 100%, but he still averaged over 30 points a game.
Yeah. So, interesting. I don't think I got Dom's pick. Did he have it up there?
He did have it up there,
He did. Should I include it then? And we'll get Dom's pick. All right, Dom's pick at number 5 was?
Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler. So Wheeler is off the board at number 5. So to give you the top 5 draft picks here in Philadelphia, number 1, Bryce Harper. Number 2, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. Number 4, Tyrese Maxey. And number 5, Zach Wheeler. Todd in South Jersey has the 6th pick, but he's also going to talk to us about the 76ers last night. Todd, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for making it.
That's open.
Okay.
You need me to do anything.
So I take it from here.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
Okay. Where you want me to start at? Last night? My word?
Sure. No, last night's draft for the Sixers, sure. What did you think?
Okay, listen. I'm coming out, and I'm letting y'all know that I'm a Knicks fan, okay?
Okay.
So my word for last night for y'all, for me, would be happy. Because I don't think that it moved the needle to address your needs or even get closer to what the Knicks is doing. And I also think that Leon Rose, as our GM right now, I think he's running laps around Daryl Morey.
They're having an interesting offseason, these Knicks, aren't they? Now, what did you think when you saw yesterday that OG was signing for that much money and you're adding, another really good piece to your team?
Excellent question. Here's what I think. I think that I was excited that he signed back. I don't care about the money. It's not coming out of my pockets, and I don't have season tickets to the Garden. But here's what I will tell you. I think that Daryl Morey lost the opportunity to get OG when the Knicks traded for him in the offseason. I think if Philly could have made that trade in the offseason, he would have been with y'all right now, especially having his ex-coach with y'all.
Yeah.
I think he should have pulled the punch right then. I don't know if he did try and he didn't have the assets like the Knicks did. I'm not sure. But if he could have did it then y'all would have had OG now.
Okay. I don't mind that. Good luck to you as a Knicks fan. Who is your 6th pick overall, Todd, in Philadelphia sports?
I'm going to give y'all some credits now, right?
All right.
Y'all got a good shot of representing the NL in the World Series this year. Aaron Nola. Let's go, baby.
Aaron Nola, number 6. Todd, thanks so much for the call. Really appreciate it. So you got Phillies pitchers going back-to-back in Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola.
Surprised by the two ones that went.
Little bit. When we get to 10, we're going to have to go back and look and say, I don't know if I'd have taken him there, just like we'd like to do with all the drafts. We're talking Sixers drafts from last night.
But I do have a bone to pick with you after the break, Bob.
Uh-oh.
because our third overall pick is Jalen Hurts, and I heard through the grapevine, I wasn't listening when you said it, but I heard that maybe you're on the fence about Jalen Hurts, and we need to talk about that.
Oh, no question. It's not a bad thing. It's an observational thing. I observed him have a great year. I observed him have a down year, from that great year last year that included 20 turnovers and all of those things. So, yeah, I'm still observing to see where I believe Jalen Hurts is going to be. So, yeah, we can talk about that when we get back. A whole lot more. All of you on the line, hold on. We'll get to you. We'll get to the text that you sent in. We're going to finish this thing out in a little while. But in the meantime, a lot to talk about. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Welcome back, 12:30 here at The Fanatic. So glad to have you with us. Hope you're having a good Thursday. As I said before, my favorite day of the week as we get ready for the weekend. We can all just trudge through a Friday. No big deal. You don't even have to be in that good a shape. You could be tired. You could be, worn out, whatever. You can always trudge through a Friday. So that's why Thursday's the best day of the week. You get through it, and you're getting ready for the weekend. A lot of reaction coming up. Okay, we're talking about the Sixers draft from last night. They'll get back at it again later on this afternoon. We're talking about a draft here. I'm sorry. Also with the Sixers, we are going with one word how you would describe the draft from last night. We're up to about 45 different words. We also have a draft going on. You can draft any athlete from this city for your team. Doesn't matter what the sport is, just you want that athlete. So far, number 1, Bryce Harper. 2, Joel Embiid. 3, Jalen Hurts. 4, Tyrese Maxey. 5, Zach Wheeler. 6, Aaron Nola. We have the 7 pick coming up on the board now. We just had a great conversation with Tyrone. He comes in and he's the amount of how much he is fired up to do his show every day is so so cool.
Ty does a great job, but he came in to tell me that I got to take an L on my take that I don't like 2 small guards because I went through the last 5 NBA champions and said, look, none of them have been 6'2" and 6'2", and he wanted to bring to my attention, which a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram are trying to bring to my attention, that the 2019 Raptors won with 2 small guards in Van Vliet and Kyle Lowry. But what I'm saying is I think Kyle Lowry, even though he's 6 feet, is a lot different player. He's a lot more of a physical player. I don't compare Lowry to Maxey or McCain. So I get it. I know Nick Nurse was the coach. I know they won a championship with 2 small guards. I just think Lowry is a lot different style of player than what you have in Maxey and Van Vliet.
Fair enough. So you also had something to bring up to me about something that was said on Tyrone's show the other day?
Well, I know that you said you're on the fence about Jalen Hurts, and you said it before the break because a lot of people talk about 2022 was an MVP year and last year was a down year. Where I disagree, and I've said this before, I don't think Jalen Hurts had as bad of a season as a lot of people are saying he had last year. Was it good enough? No. Were the turnovers an issue? Absolutely they were. But you look at what Jalen Hurts did last season with what I think was an inept offensive coordinator and offensive game plan, and Sirianni shares in the blame in that. And I think it was actually pretty damn good. He had more passing yards last year than he did his MVP season. He had more total touchdowns last year than he did his MVP season. The main issue was interceptions. They went from 6 to 15. But that does happen. Even Patrick Mahomes had 14 interceptions last season. So I want him to get better. I want him to clean up his turnovers. But I don't think Jalen Hurts' season last year was as bad as others are saying it was for us to be on the fence about him.
I think it's fair to be on the fence about him because there was decision makings last year, like balls that weren't thrown that you wondered about. There seemed to be slowness. Like I think we talked about this before. His quickness wasn't there. His now,
which was injury related,
maybe, but I don't know. Nothing was fixed.
Nothing was fixed, but we know he had the knee brace on for a few games.
Yeah. So my point being, I love the 2022 season. Last year was a far dip from that. There's somewhere in between. Am I going to be okay with the in between? I don't think Jalen Hurts for the rest of his career is going to be a top 2 MVP candidate, top 3 MVP candidate for the norm. I don't think last year's performance with the 20 turnovers, with the indecisiveness, with whatever went on due to coordinators, I don't think that's going to be the norm. So I'm on the fence overlooking it, saying, where is he? And if he's somewhere in between, is that good enough? And after 3 full seasons as the starting quarterback, I think I'll be able to come to that conclusion. That's all. I don't really look at it as being too far up on him, too far down on him. I'm just going to observe and see where it may be. Ethan on the cell wants to talk about draft pick and the word about the Sixers draft. Ethan, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, Bob. How you doing? First time, long time.
I appreciate it,
all
buddy.
Of your work. Yeah. You got it. Yeah, so I have 2 M's, M&M for my player and my word. My word is mystified.
Mystified over Jared McCain. Why?
I'm confused as to really just mystified as to what Daryl Morey's doing. And so I'm kind of erring on the same side as Phil's been saying about my patience will last up until the season starts. If it's just Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid with a bunch of role players, I'm out. Like I'm completely checked out. So,
that's fair enough. I mean, this team has to get another star, right, Ethan? They have to get another star. If they don't, it's egregious.
Yeah, completely agree. And I just and you keep saying it's just like who actually is there to get? I guess we're just going to have to see. This weekend's going to be really interesting.
It is. I think this weekend. I think you're right. I think this weekend's going to tell us a lot. Who's your now? You have the 8th overall. You have the 7th overall pick. Who is your player that you're picking?
I'm going to throw a little wrench in there and put in Michkov.
Matvey Michkov. Sight unseen, unheard. You're going with a guy that hasn't played an ounce of professional sports here yet.
100%.
Wow.
He's literally I haven't really, I love the Flyers. They haven't been great, so I haven't been really paying attention to them. Next year, I'm going to be watching every game.
Okay.
Just because of him.
I got to tell you, Ethan, I'm not hiring you as my GM.
I don't know if I
you
am
just
either.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. You just said you haven't paid attention to him. You haven't seen him play. But you're taking him as the 8th overall pick.
It just goes to show the level of excitement with Flyers fans surrounding this guy, and they should be excited.
Absolutely.
One of the best prospects, if not the best prospect since Eric Lindros. But it is tough to take him over a lot of the other athletes we have in this town as 8th overall. But I'm excited. I said it earlier in the show off the air. I renewed my season tickets even before this Michkov news because I'm excited about the direction of this franchise, and now this has just made it. October's going to be a great time of year, Bob. You love the summer. I love the summer. Think about what we hopefully will have come October with Michkov on the ice, the Eagles in full swing, and hopefully Daryl Morey doing what he needs to do to make the Sixers team exciting. And don't forget, Red October.
Yeah, it will be. It's a great time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. And yeah, it's funny. I do. I love the summer. I love being outside. It's great that the Phillies are good. The only downside is that it's not the greatest sports time, obviously. And then you get to the fall, and I'm making that first walk on a Saturday morning, and it's crisp, and football's around. I'm like,
the best.
What am I talking about? This is my favorite time of the year. It all goes along with the sports and all of it. Anthony on the cell. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Ant? Anthony. Nope. No, Anthony. Anthony is gone. Let's go to another Anthony in Egg Harbor. Anthony, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how's it going? Don't worry, I got it for the Anthonys.
All right, you got it. What's going on with you?
Not too much. I'm going to go with my draft pick first. Is that okay?
Sure, you can do whatever you want.
I love it. I'm going to go with a happy A.J. Brown.
Okay, A.J. Brown, number 8. I got to tell you, and I'll ask you, Ant, is that a little low to pick A.J. Brown?
I kind of thought so. I expected him to be off the list already.
I think you may have the steal of the draft so far.
When he's happy and he's healthy, he could be the best receiver ever in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he could be.
This might be why he's always so upset, because he's got picked 8th or 9th.
He's happy with you, though, today, Ian. So what did you think of the Sixers draft last night, and what's your word?
Technically, I'm a Knicks fan, but I expected you guys to go for Brownie, but he's still there, so hopefully you guys go for Brownie.
It might happen today. So what's the word for your Sixers? Or for the Sixers? They're not your Sixers.
Hopeful.
Okay.
That they get Brownie.
Now, let me. You say you're a Knicks fan. We see everything that's happening, and here in Philadelphia, we dissect everything. How do you dissect everything that the Knicks have done so far?
I'm kind of shocked that OG's back. I kind of expected you guys to try to at least steal him from us, but that's not so bad.
All right. Well, good luck with your Knicks this year. We won't be rooting for you, but we are friendly here in the area. So A.J. Brown falls to number 8.
Yeah, and he says A.J. Brown could be the best wide receiver we've ever had in Philadelphia. You look at his 2 seasons in Philly. Do you know he sits at number 1 and number 2 in most receiving yards in a single season in franchise history?
Yeah, how about that? Crazy, huh?
He has been unbelievable. And I'm happy that Howie Roseman not only took care of Devontae Smith, but extended A.J. as well, because you see the way the wide receiver market is just blowing up. It was smart to lock both these guys down because he's had a happy A.J. Brown. Most times, people fight over targets because they're trying to earn their next contract. You don't have to worry about that with those two guys now. They don't need their next contract. They got it. Now it's all about winning.
Two happy wide receivers. Imagine that. Two happy wide receivers. You got to love that. Mitch in East Windsor. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Mitch?
What's happening, Bob, Bill? How you guys doing?
Great. How about you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Terrific, I think, draft choice. I like those. If they had chosen the next two, that'd been great, too. Tristan De Silva, and also Connect.
Yeah, De Silva was a guy that a lot of people had going to the Sixers.
Who?
De Silva. He was a guy that a lot of people had going to the Sixers.
Yeah, he's 6'9", can play multiple positions. But I guess they went for the guy that's 4 years younger. And I liked him. I was just reading about him like 14 months ago in the Southern California, LA schools. He was a terrific player. I saw that he was Duke bound. I'm tired of this one-and-done stuff. It's really ridiculous. Just get rid of it. It's like, are they going to add another team in France? Maybe the NBA should expand to put a team in Paris.
Sure, that wouldn't be too bad on the travel, right? Head over to Paris for a weekend series.
Yeah, you're going by plane, not by ship, right? And I'm sorry. And one guy got Trey Turner. You have him. I'm sure everybody's got Bryce Harper. He's the best Philly ever, I think. But Trey Turner plays center field too, and well also.
Yeah, I'm out on the Trey Turner. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it. I'm out on Trey Turner playing center field. Can we please stop talking about that? Trey Turner's either your shortstop or your second baseman for the next 8 years, whatever it is. He's not playing center field. So let's now. That wasn't.
I think that was his pick at 9.
Oh, you do? Okay.
That was his pick at 9.
I wasn't sure. I couldn't really understand where Mitch was going there, but okay, you think Mitch took Trey Turner at number 9. All right, we'll go with it. Trey Turner goes off the board at number 9, right behind A.J. Brown. So just to update, number 10 is on the board. 10th pick is coming up when we get back from the break. Number 1, Bryce Harper. Number 2, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. Tyrese Maxey went number 4, followed by Zach Wheeler at 5, another Phillies pitcher at number 6 in Aaron Nola. Matvey Michkov goes number 7 in the surprise pick of the draft. He's followed by Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown at number 8. Number 9, Trey Turner. All right, when we get back, we'll get all the rest of what you want to talk about, some of your draft picks, your words that describe the Sixers draft last night. Also, at 1 o'clock, Nick Stauskas is going to join us. Give us a little insight on what he thinks about the Sixers might be doing, how maybe the pairing of a Tyrese Maxey and a Jared McCain may work in the backcourt in the future for the 76ers. All that and a whole lot more. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back as we get close to the 1 o'clock hour. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Looks to be pretty nice out there. The humidity's gone. Had some storms last night. I don't know. Do you have a dog or anything, Bill?
I do not.
How about you, Tom?
I do.
Yeah. Any anxiousness when it comes to thunder and lightning and storms?
No, surprisingly, she's anxious about every other thing. She's the biggest scaredy cat in the world, but storms and thunder doesn't really do it for her.
No?
Yeah.
You're
but
lucky.
my parents' dog growing up, it was, very bad when it came to thunderstorms.
I felt like, now I have 4 kids. There's been a lot of nights of, I got to get up, you got to get up, whatever, and those tired nights. Had one last night. The dog just could not settle in. Now we have, we don't have carpeting all through the house. It's hardwood, whatever, floors. So wherever the dog goes, you hear it. In and out of the room, in and out of the room all night. And it's just like, oh, come on. Tried to take her out. Well, she doesn't want to go out because it's raining.
It was raining,
and then it makes it even worse because there's thunder and lightning. And, oh, man, it was a restless night.
But you love them.
Finally, at one point, I just turned on my phone, and my wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, and the dog finally settled down. It was probably like between 2:30 and 3 o'clock. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm wide awake now. So I just started texting. I started looking up all stuff that happened with the draft last night and see if anything.
Prepping for the show. Look at that, 2:30 in the morning.
Working all the time. That's the way the way we roll, Tom. So we're talking a lot about what the Sixers did last night with the drafting of Jared McCain with the 16th pick. We have about 45 words here that have been associated with it. Also, we're doing a draft. That's right. You can draft any Philadelphia player that you want in this draft. We're not talking the sport. We're just talking the player that you want. And so far, off the board, we are up to pick number 10. Off the board is Harper, Embiid, Hurts, Maxey, Wheeler, Nola, Michkov, A.J. Brown, Trey Turner. We are up to pick number 10, and Ben in Cherry Hill gets to make it. Ben, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing great. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great on Thursday.
Good.
So, for the pick in the draft, he should be way higher. I don't know how nobody said his name yet. Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson, very good pick at number 10. Rock solid. What do you say, Bill?
Lane Johnson, winning percentage for the Philadelphia Eagles with him, 626. Winning percentage without him, 389.
That's a very, very solid pick, Ben. Ben, what did you think of the draft last night?
The draft, it was not ideal. The word, I'll give you the word.
Okay.
My word is incompetent.
Wow. And that goes directly to who?
The organization.
All right, give me more. Why? What was so bad? Why don't you? Is it the player in particular? Is it the type of player? Is it because they haven't done more? Why are they incompetent right now?
So, Sixers have been bad drafting for a while. We've all seen it. But this particular draft, they had a chance to get Dalton Knecht. He was right there. He was sitting in their faces, a wing player, something they've been coveting for years. Even if they do get Kelly Oubre back, they'd need another wing. He was sitting right there. He's 22. He's got plenty of experience in college. He would be more ready to come in as a player and not even start, but get meaningful minutes on the floor. And they take a guard who is, if he projects to become what he projects to become, is Tyrese Maxey.
In a best-case scenario, right?
Yeah, why would we want two of the same exact type of player, regardless of what type of player they are, the exact same type of player on a team, especially even starting together on a team? You need a multitude of different players that complement each other in different ways. And the pick, he's going to be good. Jared McCain is going to be good in the future. He's going to be a good player. I just don't see him fitting for the now on the team.
Yeah, maybe, Ben, thanks so much for the call. Maybe that's not what they're looking for. And maybe there are bigger plans, as I said, where this pick becomes even better because you fill out a roster and he becomes maybe your 8th or 9th or whatever man that you're talking about. I don't know. We just don't know right now, and last night probably raised more questions than it gave answers.
It did, and it just goes to show, though, the level of frustration with Sixers fans over the years because free agency hasn't even started yet. We knew the Sixers were picking 16th, so you're not going to get a star player or a star right away, but yet most of the words we've gotten have been some level of frustration, confusion. I just think the word should be incomplete because we still don't know what the plan is, Bob.
Oh, that's one. Yeah, incomplete. That's one that hasn't made the list so far. And we have a huge list that we'll get to you before the show is over about what the Sixers did last night. Eric in San Diego, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Eric?
How you guys doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm just a little worried about all these Knicks fans calling in.
Yeah, what's going on? I thought the same thing.
Already.
It's typical New York fans, and nothing against them. That's fine. But New York and Dallas fans, you only hear from them when things are going perceivably well.
Well, I'm glad we didn't get OGN and OB. I wouldn't have paid. We would have got fired paying that man that kind of money. And another thing, Miles Bridges is a good role player, but I don't think he's worth 6 draft picks.
Mikal Bridges,
He
yeah.
got fired for doing that one. But let me run one by you real quick. Kincade Murray made the All-Star team. He's in Atlanta, and you could possibly get him for about 3 draft picks, and you still got 2 left, which you probably can use on pick swaps and those 2 picks for Brandon Ingram. Both of them made the All-Star team. Brandon Ingram would be the 3rd option, which is better than Tobias Harris, and you would have that big guard to be able to handle the wings on defense with Maxey when you have DeJounte Murray out there.
Yeah, we talked about DeJounte Murray yesterday for a little bit, and thanks, Eric, for the call. Amy and I are both on board. I wouldn't mind having a big backcourt guy here. I heard Tyrone talking about it, that he didn't think he was a winner or whatever. I'd like to see that fit. I'd like to see DeJounte Murray and see how that might play out.
I think it was Eric from San Diego who called us on the best show ever yesterday.
Oh, is that right?
That sparked that whole conversation. I wouldn't be happy if it was only DeJounte Murray. But to Eric's,
no, that can't be.
Yeah.
You're right. That can't be your number 3, and you build around those 3. No, I agree with that.
But to Eric's point, if you could get a DeJounte Murray and your wing is Brandon Ingram, if that's the best possible scenario that you can get, because look, it takes 2 to tango. If these other guys don't want to come here, and that's the best, then I'd be okay if that's what Daryl Morey does. Wouldn't be my plan A, but I'd be okay with that over nothing.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned plan A. I wonder if his plan A is still in place or if it's gone out the window. We'll never know. Daryl Morey will never admit, yeah, we wanted to go here, but it just didn't work. There will be tons of speculation and tons of sourcing that'll say how it went, but I wonder.
Well, that's why I think the report about the Sixers' interest in Paul George was waning. To me, that was, if it was in fact true, was because they started to get the feeling maybe Paul George didn't want to come here. Because all we heard was that was plan A.
Yeah, so a lot of things still have to go on with these 76ers, as we've talked about. When we get back, Nick Stauskas, former Sixer, is going to join us. Let us know what he has to think. A lot of you guys are on the line. Stay put. We'll get to you. We still have some more drafting to do as we have our top 10 in. And I'll tell you what, there's some people missing on the drafts. Are we not good GMs here in Philadelphia? Maybe. We'll take a look at all that and a whole lot more. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back, everybody. A little after 1 o'clock on this Thursday, as we're talking a lot of Sixers basketball, the draft last night. Also, we're having our own little fun Philadelphia draft, and I'll tell you what, if I had my number one pick back in the day, this guy just might be it. We're talking about Nick Stauskas joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Nick, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. You don't have to lie to your listeners, though, Bob. I don't know if I'd be number one.
Are you kidding me? In that locker room, you were number one to me. Yes.
I appreciate the confidence, man.
Oh, you're the best. So, Nick, we watched this draft last night, and you know, we have our thoughts about what the Sixers did, what they are doing among all this. It's a big picture, a big picture of what this Sixers team has to do in filling a roster with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and then just other little dribs and drabs. Just your thought on their pick of Jared McCain last night, and maybe what your thought is of this team moving forward.
Well, I mean, with the team moving forward, I think it is somewhat of a blank canvas outside of Joel and Maxey. There's, as everyone knows, a lot to be determined with how that roster shakes out, and I'm sure they're going to be very active at during free agency this year and potentially some trades. But I thought the move last night, getting McCain, was solid. I've watched McCain a little bit throughout the year in Duke and, covering March Madness a little bit. I like his game, and I kind of compared him to a Malcolm Brogdon type of player. I think that would be somewhat of a ceiling for him. But again, I've always said I think evaluating talent and being able to anticipate what is going to translate to the NBA and what won't, I think that is the hardest job in all of sports. And so I don't envy the front office members who have to sit in that boardroom and make those tough decisions. But I know Philly will welcome McCain with open arms, and hopefully he's ready for some brotherly love.
Nick, for a guy who played the position but's also 6'6", how does somebody like McCain, who's only 6'2", how difficult is that to really produce in the NBA?
I mean, it's definitely difficult, but when you look at other guys throughout the league, they've been able to come in at a shooting guard position when they're a little bit smaller and still be able to score. Like, if you can score, you can score. And we've seen a lot of bucket getters, whether it be, Lou Williams, a guy like Allen Iverson. It doesn't matter. If you could score, if you could put the ball in the basket, that's all that matters. So he's a guy that has elite shooting ability. I think the defensive part is probably going to be the toughest adjustment in terms of being matched up with bigger, stronger wing players. I think that's going to be the biggest test for him moving forward.
We're talking to Nick Stauskas on the Comcast Business Hotline. And, Nick, when you were drafted out of Michigan, and I was at that combine when you were there, and you and I did an interview there because everybody told me, because that was a great shooting class, and I went around to the guys in that class and asked who's the best shooter. Hands down, they pointed to you. You and I did an interview, all that. When you come into the league and you are noted as a shooter and all, what was the toughest transition to the NBA for someone like you?
Well, to be honest, the toughest transition in terms of shooting was just having a different role than what I was used to. So, at Michigan, just having the ball in my hands a lot more and being able to play through mistakes just gave me that sense of confidence that, even after a couple misses, you just feel like you can work your way through things. And the biggest adjustment, especially my rookie year, was just the limited opportunities and limited touches that I would get. It just kind of put a little bit of pressure on me, and every shot felt a lot more important, if that makes any sense. And, sometimes that weighed on me a little bit, which could make it difficult to make shots when it matters.
A lot of Sixers fans were upset when the news broke a couple days ago that the New York Knicks were making a big trade for Mikal Bridges. What does he bring to that Knicks team?
Man, Mikal, he's surprised me a lot. I've been a fan of his, and I know Mikal a little bit, but he's surprised me a lot with his growth over the last couple years in the NBA. I don't know if people ever envisioned him being this kind of player, but you got to give him credit in terms of durability, just being available night in, night out, playing heavy minutes, being able to guard the other team's best wing player. And then on the offensive end, he's really been able to expand his role. He's a guy who can knock down threes with consistency. We've seen him being able to get into the mid-range, create his own shot now. He's long, he's athletic. So I think he's going to fit in very well with that team, especially, they're the Villanova Knicks now. So, all guys that he's, grown up playing with and has had success with in the past. So it'll be an interesting situation for the Knicks. But I just, I get what they're trying to do with OG and Mikal. You want to have two wing players that can guard Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum out there in the East. But, if things stay the same, I don't think anyone's beating the Celtics.
Nick, is there anything that you find that maybe us as NBA outsiders, fans, that we may overrate when it comes to building a team? Like the common denominator now is, or the common talking point is, you have to have 3 stars, and the Sixers have to go after that 3rd star. Maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't. What do you think is the key to building a successful NBA team, and even more successful than the Sixers have been over the last few years?
It's funny you bring that up, Bob. I was just about to say earlier, I think the era of the big three is dead. And I think if you look at some of the teams that are having the most success now, what I believe you need to have is you need to have 2 all-NBA level players that have good chemistry together, and you need to surround those 2 all-NBA players with the highest level role players. And I think when you do that properly, it looks great. Now, if you're just going out and getting 3 stars and slapping them together on paper and hoping that's going to work out, I think it's shown throughout the league that it doesn't work anymore. And we've seen the experiments all throughout, whether it's, Brooklyn, Phoenix, you name it. You can't just put 3 all-NBA players together and be super top-heavy and no depth on your roster and then expect to go win games, because, look, injuries happen, the chemistry might not be there. There's so many other factors that go into it. And I think if you're the Sixers, me personally, I would prioritize going after high-level role players that are maybe not a max contract guy that could complement Maxey and Embiid. Like, if you have 2 all-NBA players in Maxey and Embiid already, I think that's the cornerstone. That's the backbone of this franchise. Now you need to go get those other pieces surrounding it. I don't think it's necessarily important to go get a 3rd star and then kind of put all your eggs in that basket, because as we've seen, the teams that are top heavy, they very rarely become successful. I think, in 2008, the Celtics they did it, and then, Miami obviously made the big three a thing. But I think in recent years now, we're starting to see that the big three is dead.
So you were kind of general there. Let's go specific. If there were some players maybe in the league that you could surround the way you want to, Embiid and Maxey, who might they be? Or if you don't have specifics, like generally, what kind of players would you surround them with?
Well, here's the thing. I personally would not go after a Jimmy Butler or a Paul George and max them out. I would be more inclined to be like, look, if you could get Brandon Ingram and figure that out, which is maybe a step below those other guys, pay them a little bit less, save some cap space. I think that would be the move. Now, granted, I don't know if they're going to be able to do something like that, and if the opportunity presents itself where they can get a Jimmy Butler, I'm sure they may try to do it, but if you look at that Celtics roster that won this year, and I think they were my pick coming in this last season and the season before that to win, they got their 2 All-NBA guys in Tatum and Brown, and then they surrounded with the Drew Holidays and the Porzingis players that are, again, could be all-star level players, but they're not at that super max kind of deal. It's not that 3rd star per se. And it's not to say that those guys can't be stars on other teams, but you need guys that are going to be they're going to be willing to play a little bit lesser of a role, because at the end of the day, what you have in Maxey and Embiid, you don't want to take the ball away from them too much. Like, we know what they're capable of. We know how special they are when they're healthy. So that's my 2 cents on the opinion. Obviously, I'm not a GM or a front office member, so they're not paying me for this advice, but that's my 2 cents on the roster situation.
And, Nick, there's no doubt when you talk about all NBA players that Joel Embiid is one of them. And I don't think the window has closed yet on Joel. He still plays at an unbelievably high level. But what do you think that window is? How many more years do we have of Joel being an all NBA player?
I mean, you'd really need a crystal ball to be able to tell the answer to that. And, in my opinion, I said it this entire season, Joel Embiid was the best player in basketball before he got hurt. And every year we have the same conversation, and can he stay healthy? Who knows? A lot of the injuries are just unfortunate, unlucky timing kind of situations. And so when you look at it coming in next year, all you can hope for is that he's taking his health seriously. He's doing everything he can to mitigate those injuries. The coaches and the staff are trying to lessen that load throughout the season. That's really all you can do because, the proof is in the pudding. When he's on the floor and he's healthy, there's been very few players ever that are as efficient and as dominant as Joel Embiid.
All right, Nick, we've taken you away. You are no longer a Mississauguan. Does that sound right? Mississauguan? Whatever. You are now a Philadelphian. This is where you are. You are planted with your family. You're here. We're playing a game with the listeners today that if you could have any Philadelphia athlete out there right now, doesn't matter the sport, and make them your number one overall draft pick, who would Nick Stauskas' pick be?
And wait, is this current? Current players?
Yeah, you can't take yourself, Nick. You're out.
Well, I was going to say if we're going former players, I'm taking T.J. McConnell with the number one pick. But I mean, it's hard. I would say I feel bad giving this answer, but like it's hard not to pick Joel Embiid. I mean,
all right, former MVP, yeah.
I mean, former MVP, but like you can also just make the argument that still this year he was the best player in basketball when he's healthy, and it's a big but when he's healthy. But I still think that you can't just take that away from him. And obviously the season didn't work out the way they wanted, and they lose in the first round. But again, when healthy, there's no player in basketball that can dominate a game the way he can. So I still got a lot of love for Joel.
He was the number 2 overall pick by our listeners. Number 1 was first baseman Bryce Harper, another MVP. So it's all sports. Any athlete you could pick here in Philadelphia, you go Joel Embiid. I have no problem with that one either. Nick, listen, really appreciate you joining us for a couple of minutes. I can't wait to see you down the road, and I will be in touch.
Bob, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the show, and we'll talk soon, man.
You got it. Nick Stauskas joining us, former 76er out of the University of Michigan. Yeah, it was funny, Bill. I don't know if I've told you this story. I was at the Combine in Chicago, the NBA Combine, and it was just a draft filled with great shooters. So I was like, all right, my first story is going to be, because the Sixers needed a shooter at the time, who should they take? Went down the line. I don't know why Stauskas was one. I don't know if I was going alphabetically or what. But when I went to all the guys and asked them, all right, among you guys, who's the best? I mean, without hesitation, all of them, Nick Stauskas. Wow. And the Sixers wind up getting him. So those are some of his thoughts on the way the Sixers should go. Interesting. Doesn't think the third big superstar is the way you have to go.
No, but he did mention potentially a Brandon Ingram, which is a step below a Paul George. But I'm starting to warm to the idea of Brandon Ingram. Maybe this is just because I'm getting desperate because I'm seeing a lot of these other big names are not
Stockholm
available.
syndrome or something.
Yeah. But I am starting to warm to that idea because Brandon Ingram, if he can stay healthy, which is another guy who hasn't really been able to stay healthy, and if this is the right situation, obviously he disappeared a little bit in the playoffs last year, but everybody did on New Orleans. Maybe it does work. Maybe a Brandon Ingram coming here does work, but I still think you need to surround them with some other big pieces. You have Embiid, you have Maxey, Brandon Ingram. Well, what's your fourth and fifth starter? That's another big question.
It was funny. There was a saying, I don't know if it came from a TV show or what, but when we were kids, older than kids, but that if a girl didn't meet your standards, lower them.
Yes.
You start to wonder if that's what we're starting to feel right now with the 76ers. I don't know.
I think that is what's happening. It's
could be.
Last call's at 3 o'clock, and we're about 2 a.m.
I'm going to go there. Mark in Pemberton, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Mark?
I take y'all speaker. What's up, guys?
What's going on with you?
Nothing. I've been listening. Shout out to my man Stauskas in the building.
Sauce is the man. He's a really, really good dude, and I like having him on because he's very, very cerebral when it comes to the game of basketball.
All right. And here we go. This is how I feel about the Sixers pick. Okay, me being a North Carolina being a North Carolina fan, I'm like, not another Duke player in the Sixers organization, man. That's what the Duke North Carolina side of me was thinking. But I kind of in a way like the pick for the simple fact that you got to surround Embiid and Maxey with shooters. And the dude shoots like 42%.
Yeah.
And you kind of need that. You need someone. I don't know if he's going to be at that stage in his life where you can be Mr. I need a bucket right now. But the guy will get you some buckets, okay? The dude will get you a few buckets. So I'm not really mad at the pick, which leads into my word for the team. The word is safe.
That's one we haven't had yet, Mark. Good one.
Safe. They decided to go, what they wanted to do was since they had the 16th pick of the draft, they were like, let's go with a relatively safe pick. Dalton Connect probably would have been safer, but McCain is a very safe pick. It's like, okay, this satisfies the need, and maybe, people are going to be mad in the beginning through the beginning of all this, but they'll come to the realization that the Sixers need some shooters, and let's draft a shooter to see what we get.
And it could be better once they do some more moves. It could become better saying, okay, I can see him as a 7th, 8th, 9th guy coming off the bench. Who's the guy you're going to draft, Mark?
How can you not have
number 11? You got the number 11th pick. You're going with?
Kyle Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber is off the board. Mark, great call. Love the enthusiasm. Thanks so much for making it. Kyle Schwarber, man, there are some people out there that is really surprising me so far. We'll read it again. Here we are. We're up to pick number 12. Here's the 11 off the board. Bryce Harper, Joel Embiid, Jalen Hurts, Tyrese Maxey, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Matvey Michkov, A.J. Brown, Trey Turner, Lane Johnson, Kyle Schwarber. Still some big names out there.
There are some big names out there, but the first overall pick in Bryce Harper, I do still want to hear from you. There's a lot of Phillies fans who are saying, well, how is he not the lead in the NL MVP race? And I think you have some stats that would tell us, well.
I'll tell you what, I'll give them to you right now if you'd like. So yesterday, Bryce Harper gets a hit for the 11th straight games. He's been on a tear in these 11 games. So I'm like, Ohtani is also on kind of a tear too, because he's had an RBI. I believe he had a streak of like 9 straight games with an RBI. First Dodger to do it since I don't know how long. So I decided to look up the last 11 games for these two, who seem to be having a MVP battle, even though they're not playing against each other. Listen to these numbers over the last 11 games for the two of them. We'll start with Bryce Harper. Last 11 games, he's 21 for 47. That's a 447 average. This is over 11 games. That's a decent amount. 7 doubles, 5 home runs, 11 RBI. So I said, well, let me look up what Shohei Ohtani has done. He has a 10-game hitting streak, but in his last 11 games, to keep it even, he's 16 for 39, which is a 410 average. 3 doubles, 8 home runs, 17 RBI. When you combine the two over a 22-game stretch, these two are hitting 37 for 86. That's a 430 average. 10 doubles, 13 home runs, 28 RBI. So I said, that's interesting. I wonder if that played out through a whole season if you put these two guys' numbers together right now over this 11-game, 22-game stretch, really, when you add the both of them. And you say, how would that play out through a whole season? Here would be the numbers. This is nuts. 259 hits. Now, this is combined to be one player if you add what these two guys have done over the last 22 games combined. It would average out to 259 hits for that player, 91 doubles, 147 home runs, 315 RBI. Like crazy stuff, but it just shows how hot these two guys are. And I think you're in for a real battle. We started talking about Bryce Harper won National League Player of the Month for May. Andrew Salciunas and I were talking. He said he should win it for June, but they'll probably give it to Ohtani. And I said, well, I think Ohtani's numbers for the month probably will be a little bit better. Andrew said, yeah, but Harper's in the field every day. Great point. But that's the point to MVP for me. Player of the month, I don't care. You can just go on batting if you want, and that's probably what most are going to go on, right? But I think this is a real battle, MVP battle between these two.
It is, and I think Bryce Harper, after this season, would have a real hard time because then Shohei Ohtani will probably be back on the mound, too.
Sure.
So let's hope he's able to keep this tear up. But, man, it's Ohtani. I love Bryce, but Ohtani may be the greatest baseball player I've ever watched.
And it's crazy because when Mookie Betts got hurt, they moved him up from 2 to 1. Mookie Betts ain't ever leading off again. He probably lost that leadoff spot. But it's a lot of fun. I love the numbers of baseball, and it can go on and on and on, and it keeps you interested. It's great stuff. I just wanted to share that. And, Bill, I thank you for reminding me to share that with everybody. Hi, Ricky. So, Phillies tonight, 6:20 against the Miami Marlins as you have fireworks night tonight down at the stadium.
Let me correct myself. Shohei Ohtani's second best player I've ever watched, Ricky Bottalico at the top of the list.
1996 All-Star.
Right.
Yep. He got in a fight with Barry Bonds.
Ricky Bo doesn't back down from anybody.
No, he was told he had to go hit him. I forget how the story went. I think somebody said somebody's got to hit him, and they went to Ricky. I think they may have pulled him out of the pen just to hit Barry Bonds.
I got to ask Ricky, was that pre or post HGH Barry Bonds?
I think it was post, but we'll have to check about that. All right, when we get back, we still have some more callers on there. We have some real draft names on there that people haven't taken, kind of surprisingly, but we got some more going on. We'll talk about Sixers draft as we take you up to the best show ever, the aforementioned Ricky Bottalico, Tyrone Johnson, of course, and Silvana joining you then. This is Bob Cooney, Middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. back 1:30. We had so much fun during the 12 o'clock hour that I forgot to tell you that it was brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. Having a lot of fun today. We dissected the Eagles pick at the Sixers pick at number 16. Probably as much as you can dissect it. And we have about 50 words here, one word that people put to label the pick of Jared McCain from Duke. And it ranges anywhere from, ecstatic to disappointed, terrific, incompetent, responsible, meh. Now, there's a lot of words under the umbrella of the ones that I just gave. Brutal was one of them. Interesting, solid. So there's a lot of ways that people are going on this. Some of the reaction is just to the pick, I think. Like, how is he going to help you now? Others are looking broader. As we said, there's a chance this pick might look better and better with maybe some more moves that the Sixers make. Maybe that a Jared McCain becomes a 7th, 8th, 9th guy on this team, and you say, oh, okay, all right, I see what's going on there. Might get some more answers today as second round of the NBA draft starts at 4 o'clock. I think some more probably happens when we get back in on Monday. I think it'll be a weekend of maybe some moves are made besides just whatever happens yesterday and today, but we'll see how it plays out. We're also putting a draft game out there. You have all the athletes here in Philadelphia. We did a draft of who you would take in that draft. Your number one pick. Through 11, what we have right near. Number 1, Harper. 2, Embiid. 3, Hurts. 4, Maxey. 5, Wheeler. 6, Nola. 7, Michkov. 8, A.J. Brown. 9, Turner. 10, Lane Johnson. 11, Kyle Schwarber. And Joey in Westchester, he's got a pick. Joey, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Hey, Bob. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good.
All right. This is where you talk to me.
All right. What pick is this, 11, 12?
You got number 12.
All right. Well, pick number 12. Some people might say this is a reach, but I'm going to take the most clutch player in all of Philadelphia, Mr. Jake Elliott.
Oh, interesting.
Tough to argue. He is extremely clutch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like your thinking there, Joey. That's pretty good. Now, the Sixers had their draft last night. They take Jared McCain. What did you think of that, and what might be your word on that?
I have interesting. I'm just confused. I don't know the game plan there. I thought for sure they were trading the pick, so it was a shocker, but I like this guy. He seems like he'll be all right for us.
In a sense that he'll be all right immediately or in the future, or how do you see it?
I don't think he'll make that big of an impact at first, but down the line in a year or two, I think he'll be a good role player coming off the bench for us, bring that energy we need.
All right. I mean, I think that if that happens, I think people are happy with that. Joey, thanks so much for the call with the pick of Jake Elliott at number 12. But how many answers do you think we'll get this weekend, Bill? I'm going to take it through the weekend, and hopefully you do get a lot of ammunition to work with this weekend as far as the Sixers go. But do you think come Monday we'll have a lot better idea of what they're doing, a little bit, or maybe no better idea of what's going on?
Well, they're allowed to start talking to other teams' free agents on Sunday, is it? Is it June 30th?
Correct, yeah, Sunday.
There's unfortunately not a lot of free agents, though, right? I mean, we don't know if Paul George is going to opt into his player option or not. But because of that, I think we will get answers because you'll know maybe some players that are off the board. You'll know if Paul George exercises his player option. I don't think we'll have a finished product come Monday, but I do think we'll have at least maybe one or two answers.
Okay, you don't sound real satisfied on that, though. You're kind of like answers, not the big answers, just some.
Well, because I think the answer may just be, oh, Paul George opted in, so sorry. That may be the answer. Well, Paul George isn't coming here.
Huh.
LeBron James is going to stay in L.A. Those may be the answers we get. Whether or not we get a big trade, I don't know if that happens this weekend.
So you think we might get some answers that we'll get but not want? Maybe.
Yeah, kind of like
answers nonetheless.
Kind of like the OG Anunoby staying in New York type of answer.
Right, that's an answer. Right, exactly. What do you think, Tom? Come Monday, we all come in here at 8 o'clock in the morning if our schedules fit that way. Do you think we have more answers? Do you think we have big answers?
I think we have a lot more smoke. I think we have a lot more rumors, but we have no answers. I think this is going to be not a drawn-out free agency and offseason, but, I don't think Paul George is going to make his decision right away. I don't think LeBron's going to make his decision right away. It might not be until August or something like that, but I think it's going to they'll take their little bit of time. It could be a week or two. So over the weekend, unfortunately, we're going to get a lot more rumors, but no true answers, in my opinion.
When you started talking about that in August and all, God, it took me right back to Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, and it was every stinking day. All right, when is this going to be resolved? I really don't want that. I don't think anybody wants it, but
at least that one was worth the wait.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's true. No question about it.
You ended up getting Bryce. I have a feeling that we're going to be ton of smoke, ton of discussions, and then it's, we're going to just go into the season with a bunch of role players and we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. No patience left.
No, none at all. All right, we need 3 more. I want a top 15 draft class. We're up to 12. I need 3 more. Bill on the line from Utah is holding. Bill, you have to change your draft pick because that guy has already been drafted. So we're going to go to Terrell in Philly. Terrell, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, buddy?
How's everybody doing?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'll do the draft pick first to get that out of the way. Draft pick, Saquon Barkley. Is he eligible? He hasn't played yet, but, he's
He is eligible, and he is taken at number 13 by you, Terrell.
Okay. And my one word for I think we got to be patient. I think everybody wants Mikal Bridges, but look what they gave up. We wouldn't, what if Paul George opts in and, we wouldn't have the draft capital to get somebody like Paul George, and look at what happened with OG Anunoby. That was way too much money. We don't know what Daryl Morey's going to do. Daryl Morey is calling everybody. He's probably even talking to Nick Nurse to tell Rich Paul, we draft Bronny. Maybe what LeBron doing? We don't know.
He better. You're right, Terrell.
What kind of conversations going on?
Yeah, well, I'll bet you there's as many as we think he should have. He's probably had even more than that, right?
Yeah, he's having them all. He's got a list, and he's looking at every single possibility. And last night was the only play we had. To be honest with you.
All right.
I think we got to be patient.
All right, patience is something that Philadelphia people, as we know, sports fans, I should say, don't have a lot of. But sometimes you got to practice stuff that you can't do very well. Patience just might be it. Now, patience can take you till Monday when we're talking immediate patience, and that's it. You need some answers by Monday, or your overall patience could last for a little while longer. But patience is almost a 4-letter word when it comes to the 76ers of late. Hopefully, Bill, he did. Bill in Utah, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Bill?
Hey, how you doing? So my pick would be, one of the best catchers in the history of the game, TJ Realmuto.
JT Realmuto is off the board. You got him at number 14, Bill. One of the best catchers in all of baseball ever?
Not ever. I said in Philly.
Oh! I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about ever. Yeah, JT Realmuto. I'm surprised he lasted this long, but maybe it is the right spot to go. Yeah. What did you think of the Sixers draft last night, Bill?
The word I want to use would be predictable or typical.
That's one we haven't had yet. Why do you say that?
Because we get all hyped up about this trade or maybe do this, do that, and then you get there and they just do nothing. It seems like it happens all the time. Seems like even the Flyers do stuff like this. I mean, I'm expecting a bunch of trades come Friday and watch. At the end of the day, they'll do a pick and there won't be nothing that's exciting, nothing that it's just going to be like laying an egg. Same thing every year.
Well, they have to do something. They can't sit and do nothing because they have so many roster spots available. But you're thinking that no matter what they do, it's not going to be satisfying?
Well, I think I agree with you earlier what you're saying. The pick, he might not ever play in Philly. It might be part of a trade coming on. They're going to spend a lot. They didn't want to draft somebody that they're going to sign because that's a lot of money right off the book. So let's get a player that somebody else wants, trade him, and then get somebody we really want. via trade with the pick that we took, and then focus hard on free agency. I think that's where their attention is.
All right. Good thinking there, Bill. Thanks so much for the call and the pick of JT Realmuto.
That's a good
going
pick.
number 14. That's a very, very solid pick.
Very solid. And the caller before that, Terrell, who always calls in, love when he calls. I don't think I'd go with Saquon. As excited as I am about Saquon Barkley, there are a lot other Philadelphia athletes I would have drafted before a running back. Even though Barkley, it's exciting, and I get the hype, and I'm right there with you. JT Realmuto, I would have put above him, no doubt. I think JT's more important than Saquon.
All right, so I would say the questionable ones we have through 14, and we need one more. We got to make it 15. 610-632-0975. Harper belongs Embiid, Hurts, Maxey, Wheeler. Top 5. All cool?
Yeah, I like that top 5.
I don't mind that at all. Next 5. Nola, Michkov. I'm looking at you guys. Michkov.
That's a projection pick. Not right now.
Okay, I don't.
That is how excited I am as a Flyers fan type of pick, not a realistic pick.
Okay, A.J. Brown, Turner, Lane Johnson finish out that top 10. We're all good there.
Yep.
Right?
Well, there's one that could easily slide in for Michkov that should be in the top 10, in my opinion.
Lane Johnson's at number 10.
They're not on the list yet.
Oh, okay. I think I know who you might be talking about. Just to finish it up, number 11, Kyle Schwarber. 12 is Jake Elliott. I'm okay. I like, it's out there, like he said, but I guess I'm okay with Jake Elliott.
Yeah, you don't realize how great it is that we have a kicker that is clutch until you don't have one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
When you have,
We've been lucky over the last.
We really have. You went from David Akers basically through to Jake Elliott, and I think Caleb Sturgis had a couple good seasons with the Eagles at kicker. I'm trying to remember who else. Even Alex
and he had
Henry.
a great miss against the Eagles, so that was cool too.
Yeah, Alex Henry. Cody Parkey was good here, and then had the double doink when he was with Chicago.
Double doink, that's right.
Yeah, in Chicago. So.
Yeah. All right, so we need the 15th pick. Who do you got? If you don't come up with it, I think Bill, Tom, or myself will come up with it. I want to let you know that the 1 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Ferguson HVAC, Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. All right, when we get back, we're going to wrap all this thing up, take you to the best show ever with Tyrone, Ricky, and Silvana, and get that last draft pick, number 15. It will be on you. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for joining us as we close things out here on this Thursday afternoon. A lot of people going a lot of different ways here at the station. We got guys taking vacation in Lithuania. We have guys going cross country to go see some NHL draft in Las Vegas. So there's probably going to be a lot of shuffling going on. Had a fun day today, dissecting what the Sixers did last night in their draft pick of Jared McCain. Playing the little game that we played of putting a label on that draft pick, and I read off a bunch of the words that you labeled on that pick today, so we appreciate you on that. And then we had a little fun. As far as draft pick. Any athlete in this city, who would you pick? We have our top 14. We're looking for 15, and maybe Eric from Mount Laurel has it. Eric, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, fellas. How you doing? Big fan.
Doing great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so right now I'm just coming from Mount Laurel, driving to my buddy Zach. He just moved into the city. He's from Mount Laurel as well, but he's worked in Boston for a few years. But going back to school, he's going to UPenn. So finally got my buddy back, going to visit him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, should be good. So I think I'll go Sixers first, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my girlfriend is a big Duke fan, God knows how. But I'm not a big Duke fan myself. I'm all Philly everything. But I was forced to watch a lot of Duke games the past couple of years, and the main thing that jumped out to me is McCain can play, man. He's got his quirks, but that dude can really score. He's got a handle on him. And I swear, even though he was one of the only freshmen playing out there for him, it felt like every time a game got real tight for Duke, whether it was a conference game or in the tournament, whatever it was, and they really needed one. He was the only guy that felt like it could get it. And I wasn't necessarily rooting for us to pick McCain tonight. I felt like Connect might have been a better fit right now with Embiid's age and everything like that. But if it wasn't him, I'm glad it was McCain. I do think we got a good one. People are going to think what they're going to think because of nail painting, TikTok, all that. But all I care about is I think this dude can ball, and I think he's going to really, really help us. And we're going to figure the rest of the roster out around this guy. What do you guys think?
All right, that's the most positive we've probably heard about the pick from last night. So appreciate that, Eric. I don't know. I don't know if Eric had a draft pick or not. Didn't seem like it. They didn't put it on the board. So, all right, positivity surrounding a guy that watched a lot of Jared McCain this year. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to be negative. I'm hoping McCain turns out to be a good player, but look, college basketball to the pro game is a lot different. There's a reason why players who can dominate in college don't always translate to the NBA.
There is that, without question. Okay, we're looking for the number 15th pick. We're going to have to give it.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer.
I think the three of us might have it all. So let me give out the picks real quick so far. The way the draft order went today, number 1, Bryce Harper. Number 2, Joel Embiid. 3, Jalen Hurts. Tyrese Maxey went 4. Zach Wheeler, 5. Number 6 was Aaron Nola. Number 7, probably the worst pick of the draft. Matvey Michkov went number 7. Number 8, A.J. Brown. Trey Turner went number 9. Lane Johnson, 10. Number 11, Kyle Schwarber. Jake Elliott went 12. Saquon Barkley, 13. JT Real Muto, 14. And I think on 1, 2, 3, we could all say it, guys. Number 15 is
Ranger
Suarez. Oh, Bob was saying someone different.
I forgot about Ranger Suarez.
Who'd you say?
I was going with Devontae Smith, but I forgot.
Yeah,
you know why I forgot? Because I had already written Ranger Suarez down because, as I told you guys, the first person that responded to this said, I'll take Ranger Suarez, and then said, but that means Bryce, not counting Bryce Harper.
That's right.
I had Ranger off in my head.
Yeah.
So, Ranger. All right, so let's do this.
Ranger's got to be.
All right, let's take Michkov off at number 7.
That's fair.
And put Ranger or Devontae Smith at 7.
Well, you can't put Devontae at 7 because A.J. Brown's 8.
That's a good point. Yeah. So I'm cool with Ranger right after Nola, right? Shortly after Wheeler, and then Devontae a little bit
now,
lower.
we may need an entire show, and we only have a minute left. Would you go Nola or Suarez?
I would go Nola because he's done it for much longer. Suarez has just had one great year, but great playoffs, but one great year, so I'd go Nola personally.
It's interesting.
That'd be a debate in of itself right there.
Yeah, that's funny. I thought we were okay because I just had Suarez out of my mind. Wow. How did everybody? Suarez may win the Cy Young this year.
Very
We
possible.
didn't have him in the top 15 of all the pair, top 14 after everybody picked. But a fun game that we played today. Fun is what Tyrone, Ricky, and Silvana are coming up on the best show ever. So I want you to stay tuned for them next. Bill, you're going to be here with me tomorrow?
I will. We have Tom back as well?
We do have Tom back.
You do not have Tom back as well.
You son of a...
who's producing with us tomorrow?
I got to do nights tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Josh, I think
don't know. They'll find somebody off the street.
Maybe Silvana.
Yeah, Silvana, Josh. I mean, whoever it'll be great. Can't wait. We will talk to you then. 10 a.m. tomorrow. Please join us then. Thanks for a great day, everybody.